Good evening, councillors, executive, staff, and of course our community in the gallery and also watching online. For the benefit of the gallery and the people who are viewing us at home, my name is Darren Fuzzard. I'm the CEO of Mount Alexander Shire Council. And in accordance with our governance rules, the immediate past mayor, Councillor Annear, has vacated the mayoral chair to permit council election of a mayor for the coming 12 months. And it's my responsibility to preside over that process. I'll come back to that shortly. However, may I first welcome everyone to this November meeting of council and start the official proceeding by acknowledging that we are meeting on Jara country, of which the members and elders of the Jara community and their forebears have been custodians for many centuries and have performed age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation and renewal. We acknowledge their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region. I also know that council meetings are audio and video recorded and are made available to the public via electronic media, including YouTube. Item number 1, councillors. I acknowledge all 7 councillors are present tonight in the chamber, as is Director Annear, Acting Director Campy, and our governance and communications support teams. We don't have any apologies from the councillors, but I do acknowledge that Director Knight is currently on a very well-earned break and is the President of the Acting Director Campy. Item 3, councillors, declarations of interest and conflicts of interest. Councillor, do I have any of those or any of the items on the agenda tonight? Noting, of course, that the mayoral election and deputy mayor election is not considered to be part of that process. Councillors, anything to declare? Thank you for that. So item 4, it is my pleasure to invite nominations for the role of mayor, noting that as this is the last year of this council, the default term of 1 year does apply automatically. So it's noting recommendation. Do I have a nomination? Councillor Maltby.
I'll nominate Councillor Driscoll for lodging the board, yes.
Thank you, Councillor Maltby. Councillor Driscoll, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, CEO.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, do I have any other nominations? Thank you. That being the case, in accordance with section 9 of the governance rules, I now declare Councillor Driscoll to be mayor for the next 12 months. Congratulations, Mayor Driscoll. Before the mayor does a couple of other things, I'd invite councillors if they wanted to make any comments. Councillor Maltby.
Councillor Driscoll, the first term as a councillor, and he's certainly well respected in the Loddon ward and is a good team player in 7 councillors we have here. I feel that his 12 months will be not only successful but very good mayoralship.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor McClure.
I just wanted to congratulate Mayor Driscoll. I've known Matt for a long time. I know he's a very capable person in his business activities and his work around the community through Rotary and other organisations. Looking forward to music to Matt for.
Councillor Cordy.
Thanks, CEO. I'd like to reiterate the other councillors. Councillor Driscoll's been a fantastic councillor in the time that he's been on council and works very hard for his ward, and he plays a very important role on the Board and Risk Committee. And I know he brings a wealth of experience to the role, and look forward to working with him in the capacity as mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, CEO. Yes, let's add my congratulations. I'm looking forward to working under the leadership of Mayor Driscoll. He's certainly shown that he has the interests of the community at heart. Even at times when I thought maybe he would be, leaning this way, but no, he's in there fighting for what's right for the community, and that's fantastic.
Councillor Annear.
Really to echo what Councillor Henderson said, I think it's been such a pleasure to get to know Mayor Driscoll over the last few years, because he really does have the community's best interests at heart. It's a very big heart, and it's been lovely to get to know you better, Mayor, and I'm really looking forward to the year ahead. Good luck.
I'll better. So, well done, Matt, good fun, and I know, really good next year, look forward to working.
Thanks very much, councillors. Now, for the audience benefit, we're going to take for Mayor Driscoll to adorn the roads, have to get a photo or two with family, and then he'll take place in the chair and have to provide a response to us as mayor, and he'll then take the meeting from this point onwards, including referring to the past mayor for a report shortly after his own comments. Thank you, Mayor. It's been a moment, audience. Yeah, sure.
Hang on, family.
Still live on YouTube. Thank you, everybody. Those kind words. Thank you for
It's just coming.
Well, that have fun. Sorry.
Tim's coming. Sorry, we don't get any communication.
Sorry. about
Yeah, there. For the evening. Right. Right, thank you. So, good evening, everyone. It's an honour and a privilege to accept the role of Member Shire for the year 2024. I look forward to carrying out this role with integrity and enthusiasm. First, I'd like to thank my fellow councillors for supporting me thus far, and of course, Rosie
in particular, who has filled the role so well over the past 12 months. As a team, I believe this council has worked towards great things, and I would like to keep up that same momentum as we approach the final term in our office. I'd like to thank Mount Alexander Shire team who under the leadership of Darren Fuzzard worked incredibly hard providing tons of support for us councillors to assist us in navigating the often tricky waters of local government legislation protocols. Last but not least, I'd like to thank my amazing family who know how to support me, encourage me and guide me, and how to bring me down a peg or two when I need it. My start in life was violent and confusing. We often were homeless and usually poor. I've been very fortunate though to break out of this violent poverty cycle, and so working towards easing the housing crisis has become my passion. I want to advocate for people within our community who feel that their voice is not heard and work towards further strengthening community ties where we can be kinder to one another. Thank you. Now I'd like to move to Rosie, our previous mayor, for thanks, family.
Thank you, Mayor. I've had the most incredible year in the mayoral role. Thank you to my fellow councillors for believing in me and trusting and respecting me in the position. Thank you to Mayor Driscoll for being my deputy mayor and being a deputy mayor that I could always count on. I know you will be a very fair and reliable mayor, and you'll probably keep things running to time a lot better than I ever did as well. I wish you all the best in the year ahead, and yeah, really great good luck, and thank you for the support that you gave me. Thank you to the CEO for getting me through a whole year of it being there without having a breakdown. I know so much more about so many things from getting to be a team with you this year, and I did a whole bunch of things that I didn't know I could do this year because of your support. Particular thank you also to Director Knight and Director Anir. Your support also got me through some tough times and some big feelings, and you always made time for a chat, even when you were probably sick to death of talking about the thing that I wanted to talk about right then. Thank you to all the other wonderful council staff who looked out for me this year. There are so many of you who made my days better and my job more manageable, especially when I was having a bad day or a bad week. Thank you to our community. You are a real joy to represent most of the time and to be a part of really all the time. I've been so proud to be Mayor of our Shire this year, and it has been such an honour. Thank you to my sisters in Lady Fun Times and Lady Mayor Friends, the two girl gangs who always have my back. Thank you to my parents for putting up with all this, but secretly thinking it's pretty cool as well, and for everything you do in the background so that I can do the things that I do. Thank you to my kids for putting up with all this and for thinking it's very cool, not secretly at all. You have sacrificed your mum a lot this year, but your love and unconditional belief that I can do hard things has given me the oomph I needed to keep going. I have had the most incredible year representing our Shire. I don't think it's something that I'll ever forget. It is the second coolest thing that I've ever done, and I gave it everything I had. It was really hard sometimes, and there were times when I went, why am I doing this? But it was just a down point. There are ups and downs in any role, and I think this one is so vast and there is a lot of weight to carry with it, I think, that I didn't fully appreciate beforehand, but now I know, and it's heavy sometimes, it really is, but it was amazing as well. I am very tired though, very, very tired, but I've grown in ways that I never thought possible, and I've done things that I never thought I could do. I've represented our Shire and community to the best of my abilities, and it was absolutely worth it. So thank you for the opportunity and all the support, and yeah, it's been an incredible year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Anir. Any other councillors want to say something of the outgoing mayor, if you'd like? Yes, Gary.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to congratulate Ray for such a great year. I mean, to take off the year, I think it's a big career, put that aside, you know, do this job full time. It was, you know, it was obvious that you put a lot into it and you did a great job, fantastic job. I think you presented a pretty high bar from that to live up to the big one.
Any other councillors? Councillor Anderson?
So I think Gary's actually said it in a nutshell. You've done a great job, Rosie. Yeah, and you took time off. You've put your all into it. You put particular staff onto it. And we'll never forget our cousin, Mayor, who is no relation to Gary. And every time. Yeah, you did great. I think you probably, chalked up a few points of being probably, that not since Councillor Maltby was there maybe, but one of our younger mayors in this shire, we're not known for our young mayor, so fantastic. And hope to be back in the job sometime in the future. And
Councillor, any others?
I'm not going to say anything to my client.
Right, say something, speak up.
Councillor Porty?
Yes, I'd just like to congratulate Councillor Neer. She's done a wonderful job and she's really excelled in the role, and I look forward to seeing her career. I'm sure she's got great things ahead, so well done, Rosie. Congratulations.
Maltby?
I can just endorse what every other councillor said, we certainly have it. Put it out there and contribute it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Right. And just from my own personal view, Rosie, you're a fantastic mayor, and being deputy mayor was the easiest role, I must admit, because you took on a lot, and appreciate that. And I hope that I can get somewhere near the way you were. So thank you very much. Which brings me to the next item, which is the election of the deputy mayor. Now, council may choose to appoint a deputy mayor in accordance with section 28 of the Act, in accordance with section 9. I have a councillor to a councillor here. Do you accept that?
I will accept that nomination. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. As there's no other, any other person in the room who wants to have the nomination? No? Have all those in favour? The motion deputy mayor is unanimous, and congratulations, Rosie. Dynamic duo back. Just reverse. Item 7 is confirmation of minutes. Do I have a recommendation of the minutes? Councillor Gordon?
Thanks, Mayor. The minutes of the 17th of October 2023. The recommendation is that the minutes of the meeting of Mount Alexander Shire held on 7th of October 2023 be confirmed. Move that. Thank you.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? So, yes, Councillor Henderson.
could I just make a note of this point?
Yes, sure.
That there's been a point raised with me that in the last sentence of the last paragraph of the statement in topic question time by John Taylor, which recorded that he says in 2024 council will undertake a rural literacy assessment, and it's been requested that we insert the word early, it reads in early 2024, and I've been advised that staff will check the video, and if this is confirmed, will and then the minutes will be.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Henderson. So we have a motion, all those in favour? Motion carried and subject to that item that Councillor Henderson brought up. Thank you. Next item is acknowledgements, which there is nil. Item 9 is public time. Can I have someone to suspension of standing order, please? Yes, Councillor Maltby.
I'll move that suspension of standing order.
Innocent, all those in favour? Motion carried, thank you. Is there anyone from the floor who would like to ask a question? I have 3 questions here, one from Brian Dolmer, Anna Howard, and Ronald Fonoff. But any of them? Brian, you want to speak? Yeah, absolutely, no problem. Just general. Okay, so we'll go Brian first.
Okay.
Just give it 3 minutes, but I'll let you go a little bit longer if you need to.
One minute, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Congratulations, Gary Driscoll. I note on the agenda tonight, there's a paper relating to our petition, which I applaud and thank you for doing that. I now bring to the council's attention that the draft 2024 to 2028 Kangaroo Management Plan has been published, which I think will be a relatively important document for council to consider, notwithstanding the recommendation that's in the papers tonight. But it did raise 2 questions. And I'm just wondering whether, and you've probably got a copy of the questions, did council comply with its SHAPE communications engagement policy before writing to the State Government of Victoria to advocate for a ban of commercial harvesting of kangaroos? And a subsequent question, and given that, is it now more likely that the Mount Alexander Shire Council will consult directly with farmers and other affected parties on issues that affect them, such as land protection and right to farm issues?
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for your question. I propose to answer that. So the decision by council to write to the state government occurred in July 2023, and the communications and engagement strategy was adopted in October 2023. Therefore, council's consideration of the kangaroo matter was not made with reference to this document. That said, councils have a legal right to raise notices of motion on any matters that they wish, as long as the motion is deemed by the CEO to be legal and clear in its intent. It is then for other councillors to determine if they feel adequately informed to decide on the matter and then to vote accordingly. Further, the CEO advises that on all matters presented to council, officer reports will have regard to the recently adopted communications and engagement strategies. So too, where required, will any advice provided in relation to notices of motion raised by councillors. Is there any other questions from the floor? But if you come up to the lectern, please, and just state your name, please.
Anna Howard.
Okay, thanks, Anna.
I'm asking this question on behalf of the Mount Alexander Women's Sports Club, otherwise known as the Falcons, sports football club. And my question really relates to the use of ovals in this shire, and in particular the use of ovals in Central Castlemaine, currently delegated under Section 65 to a community asset or to community asset committees. So my first question is, does council stand by its decision made by its delegate, the Wesley Hill Community Asset Committee, to block access for a local sports club dedicated to improving the participation of women, girls and gender diverse people in sport to one of 2 football ovals in Central Castlemaine? Further, is the council aware that in winter football season, one football club in this shire has a monopoly on both ovals in Castlemaine? Finally, what is council doing about the lack of policies and transparency of decision making of this committee, and how is it ensuring that decisions made in its name on its behalf are not discriminating against people based on gender?
Thank you, madam. I shall get Director Anea, no relation to the council, Anea, to answer that question if I could, please.
Thank you, Mayor Driscoll. And I think you've got a question. So I can confirm that council delegates and management and responsibility to the Wesley Hill Recreation Facility Community Asset Committee, and this includes all decisions regarding buildings and facilities. The decision regarding the first use of the facility of the Falcons was made by the Community Asset Committee itself, and this position was documented in the minutes in the correct format, and it was being submitted to council. If the user would appeal the decision, council can arrange to meet with the parties to discuss the background. And this has occurred in this instance where council has met with the different parties. The community have further informed council officers that their decision was not made to block access to any particular code, but rather the decision was based on the scheduling of requests of user groups and the request from the Mount Alexander Women's Sporting Club or the Falcons. Unfortunately, was not able to be accommodated at this time as per the request. With regard to your second question, I can confirm that council officers are aware of the sporting facilities that are used across the Shire by sporting clubs, and that we do provide access to sporting reserves across the Shire to accommodate the sporting club's needs. Unfortunately, it is not always possible to meet the preferences of every sporting club for their requests with the facilities that we have in present. However, we do work with the community asset committees across the Wesley Reserve to try and make available facilities for their preferences. And I do note that communication and consultation is still ongoing in this part. In regard to your last question, the council's governance team have informed that Wesley Hill Community Asset Committee adhere to the current instrument of delegation. And I also would like to share by July 2024, council will have adopted its fair access policy in line with the state government's fair access roadmap. And then this will then update the instrument of delegation for the community asset committees for them
Thank you, Director O'Neill. Any other questions from the floor? So I thank Brian and Anna for their questions. I've got one last question, which I'll read. Leading post office banks. I refer to the move towards digitalisation of the banking system. Attached is copies of other council motions to support the creation of a postal bank for the people to ensure that banking cartels, privately owned world banks run organisations, cannot force electronic monetary systems upon the people of Australia without their choice or consent. I note that I am currently charged for the electronic movement of my funds from the savings account. So while I can go into a bank and take out cash, which doesn't lose value through use, in stark contrast, I have to pay to electronically move my funds from the account in which they are stored. And I pay bank fees to do so. When using the electronic payment to a business owner who would otherwise have to pay a fee. Council is the voice of its own community. I ask that Council refer this matter to the people of the Shire in order that they can vote and keep cash banking in their community. That question was asked by Laurel Connells, and I propose that the CEO has a response to that, please. Thank you, CEO.
Thanks very much, Mayor. And thank you for the question. The matter Mayor referred by Laurel is the responsibility of the federal government, and with the council's general support, I propose that I write to the local member, Lisa Chester's, asking that her government consider that request and that they provide a response back to the author.
Thank you, CEO. Could I have a resumption of standing orders, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Maltby. I need a second, sorry. Gary, thanks, Dave. Rest on the floor. All those in favour? Gary, thank you. Next item on the agenda is petitions and letters, of which there is none. Item 11 is committee reports. Could I have a recommendation of that, please?
Do that, Mayor. At item 11, the North Central Goldfields Regional Library board members for the meeting. There's a lot of board members attached. Some of them are confidential, some of them are not. I move the recommendation, the North Central Goldfields Regional Library board members for the meeting held on 27 October 2023 to be noted.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a second? Councillor Wood. Councillor Neil, would you like to speak your motion?
Well, I will briefly, because as everyone knows, I do love the library. This was a mammoth board meeting. Obviously, most of the papers from it are confidential as they refer to organisational stuff, but there's a few things in here that I'm going to pick out that will be of interest to both councillors and the general public. Number one is we're planning to renew our agreement with North Central Goldfields Regional Library Corporation for them to continue providing library services. That agreement is currently out for community consultation until December the 4th. So if you want to check that out, it is up on our SHAPE page. As well as that, the board recently confirmed Christmas opening hours. So gone are the days when the library was shut for a good week and a half or so. Now they are only closing on Christmas Day and Boxing Day, open as normal that Wednesday, Thursday and Friday and Saturday. Closed again on Monday, which is New Year's Day, and then opening again on the 3rd of January. So not missing a lot of library time there either. Some other things coming out of the library plan quarterly report that I think are pretty, that I think are interesting and worth us to all be thinking about in the back of our minds is that there has been an increase in some antisocial behaviour and challenging behaviours in libraries across the board. As a result of this, all staff were given the opportunity for training, a course called Occasional Counsellor Training. So this gives someone the skills who is not a trained counsellor and is not expected to deliver counselling services, but who might, through the nature of their work, be exposed to personal and potentially confronting interactions. So it skills up library staff a bit more to deal with some of the things that they're experiencing. The other response to this has been during systems installed in the 6 branches that did not have them, meaning that all branches now have the safety measure in place. Looking a little bit closer to home, the Castlemaine Library quarterly report is detailing the months between July and September. It's always a fantastic document to read because our library consistently punches above its weight. So in these 2 months, they ran events like another library lock-in for teenagers 12 to 15. I talked to these teenagers afterwards. They have the best time. I'm at the moment trying to get them to do a library lock-in for grown-ups, which I would be very keen on. The adult spelling bee was on again this year, which is another event quite close to my heart. Since the lasagna debate of, I think, 2018, it has been highly contentious. There's also been some great parenting in the model world talks done by local community health nurse Bron. I went to one of them. The 2 that have been run this year that were the most successful were called Before the Hormones Hit the Fan and the Emotional World of Primary School Kids. So you're really noticing this focus on pre-high school kids. So that interesting middle years age bracket that we put a lot of time and effort into. The library also has a spot on Main FM every week now to talk up their services even more, and they put in a lot of hard yards during both NAIDOC Week and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Children's Day. At the back of this attachment, as always, are just some comments that they received from people who came to the library during the month. And there's always a really great mix of things in there. So this is one that I always think everyone should read. And that's it for me. Thank you.
It's Councillor New. Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor Driscoll. Just like to acknowledge the work of the Goldfields Library Corporation. The documents that they've presented for council are very comprehensive, and it's really the Library Corporation's performing very well. So congratulate them and all the staff. On a per capita basis, it ranked right up there, one of the top performing libraries in the state, and it's a very good organisation, and we appreciate the work that they do. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cordy. Any other councillor like to speak to this? Thank you. Councillor New, would you like to arrive and reply?
Right, okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We have a motion. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. That brings us to item 12, Officers' Report. First item is 12.1, under the heading of Community, and it's the Mount Alexander Shire Council Reconciliation Plan 2023. Do I have someone to introduce that, please?
I'll take this one, please, Mayor. And it's strange speaking this much, actually. I know you think you often that I talk an awful lot, but I talk less when I'm in the chair than I do on the side of the table. So jump yourself in. For this item, the purpose of this report is to present the Mount Alexander Shire Council Reconciliation Plan, the plan 2023 to 2026 for adoption. The Reconciliation Plan 2023 to 2026 presents a framework to implement actions that will continue to promote understanding of First Nations people and their culture and support reconciliation within the Mount Alexander Shire. The plan also reflects the achievements of the organisation to date and identifies opportunities to strengthen the initiatives and progress already made towards reconciliation. I move the recommendation that Council adopts the Mount Alexander Shire Reconciliation Plan 2023 to 2026.
Thank you, Councillor Lear. Do I have a second? Councillor Gardner? Councillor O'Neill, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would. All right. I mean, this is a great plan. We have it right here. Look at its front cover. It is very beautiful. This reconciliation plan is something that I think feel really proud of as an organisation and as a council. We've been doing good work in the reconciliation space and really forming those partnerships with local traditional owners and Indigenous community members, gradually over my whole life, arriving at the place where we have these such strong connections that I feel really good about what we're doing. And obviously, as Mayor this year, I've been sitting on Indigenous Roundtable, which is one of our initiatives to make sure that Indigenous people and organisations and traditional owners and anyone who really works within the First Peoples space has a voice to really guide the way we do things in our community. There's some really beautiful stuff in this plan. You'll see messages from both me as the Mayor and the CEO. There's also a beautiful traditional owners message from Uncle Rick, and he really digs in deeper about what that partnership between First Nations people and council and community mean to him, and how proud he is of the work that we are all doing together. Such a lot of the time we talk about the need to work together towards reconciliation, and Uncle Rick demonstrates that every day and in every way, that he just wants us to work together rather than being divisive. He wants us to come together and try and make things better. The plan has three different I don't know what you call them, themes they are called, of partnership, recognition and empowerment. And there's this page within the plan that looks a bit like this. It's an artwork by a local Indigenous artist, Dakota Nelson. The symbol for partnership represents collaboration between First Nations and other Australians and coming together to progress reconciliation. Recognition, the symbol depicts history and cultural practices deeply rooted in Jarrah country. And empowerment represents tools and weapons traditionally used by First Nations people to hunt, gather, nourish and protect themselves. There are footprints, gum leaves and a snake around the edge representing the people, plants and animals of the land. And together they make up the shape of a shield, which represents the courage we draw on. We draw upon to keep fighting for a more reconciled Australia. We also have this painting somewhere in the Civic Centre. And it's just such a beautiful one to look at, because I think it really represents what we're striving to do. And it also is at the heart of this plan. We talk about our reconciliation partners, the big ones being Jarrah, Nalderun Education Aboriginal Corporation, and Tangarang Lands and Water Council. We also give a nod to our other partners on the Indigenous Roundtable, such as Delkaya Health, Bendigo District Aboriginal Corporation, Castlemaine Secondary College, Castlemaine Police, Department of Education, and Castlemaine Community House. There is a lot going on in this plan. It is bigger even than the last one, and I thought the last one was relatively ambitious. It has 45 actions under 11 objectives, structured around those core themes of partnership, recognition, and empowerment. There are things in this plan that we haven't done before, and there will be more to come, as well as the RSA is renegotiated and applied, but what we have here is a document that really will guide the way we continue to work towards reconciliation. There are some really exciting new projects in here, as well as things that we've been doing for years and years, such as our Surrey Day, our contribution to Surrey Day, and our dual Australia Day Survival Day that we do every year. This is a document that I feel really proud of. I thank Acting Director Campy's team and him for all the hard work they've done on it. I think it's great. I think we should adopt it, and I think we should do the things that it says. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Neer, for the excellent rundown. Councillor Gardner, would you like to speak?
Certainly, thanks. Probably, I think Councillor Neer had this, gone through the plan and had great, I think me personally, picked out the loss of the voice, which I, personally sad about, but see the commitment of this council continues some sort of reconciliation is a good thing. And obviously, having the support of Uncle Rick going forward is also an amazing thing, particularly after that, the loss of the voices. I know there's a lot of community out there hurting. And I do believe and hope that the partnership will continue. And I suppose for me, what stood out was that after the loss of the voice of the ceremony, and Baron Neer was there actually. And Uncle Rick turned up. Now he was hurting. I know a lot of people would have been hurting in the First Nations community post it. And he turned up, he did the ceremony, and just about everyone got up and went through it. And to me, it just really struck home sort of the commitment that our First Nations people have to this community and reconciliation. And I just hope the council can continue as well. So I really do recommend this to my fellow councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. Are there any councillors who want to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Cordy?
Thanks, Mayor Driscoll. Look, I was reading the plan, and I read the forward by former Mayor Anita, and I really great. What really caught my attention was the sentiments of Rick Nelson in his comments there, and he was so optimistic about the future and about working together with council through our regular roundtable meeting that we have, and it's really a credit to him. And you know, I mentioned this last meeting, but as Municipal Association of Victoria, to have the minister acknowledge Mount Alexander Shire with the exhibition in our market building as a prize-winning exhibition. You know, we're not the biggest shire, but we're doing pretty well in this space. So I'd like to acknowledge all of the team that have worked on the plan, and it's a great plan, and there's really good things to come. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cordy. Yes, I'd like to say, Councillor McCall.
Thank you. Just wanted to endorse what the others have said. Probably really well. But I mean, I read the traditional owners message from Uncle Rick too, and I was taken by the piece that when he mentioned we truly walk together on this journey, this council, and the whole community drives reconciliation, not just traditional owners and council. So I think that, to me, that was an important point that was made during his message. But yeah, no, that's a good document.
Thank you, Councillor McCall. Anybody else? Councillor Henderson?
When you showed up, I don't know, I shouldn't have said that. This is a very important document. It's great that we are on the second one. And it's building on the work that's already done by staff and the owners. And I just want to note one of the objectives, which actually is to empower First Nations children and youth. I think that's a really important part of it, because they are the future. The future leaders, and it's people in the community with the fact that they can celebrate their heritage and ancient heritage. And we have this wonderful resource called the Meeting Place that was established by RTG quite a while ago, and it's continued to be supported. We and our staff do come there and learning how to something, and so that's a special place for to go and have cultural education. And I've been running another education and corporation, which is fantastic. And so that's actually a number of actions under the current Dr. Youth. And the last one is continue to support the First Nations Youth Leadership Program, the core part of the Council of State Government on the Youth Development Program Engage, which I'm sure that we'll be with someone.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Any other councillors? Okay, now we have a motion to put forward that council adopts the Mount Alexander Council Reconciliation Plan. All those in favour? Motion carried. Now, I just want to say a couple of things now. It's only 26 pages, this document, but I know a lot of work's gone into that and a lot of consultation and meeting. So I want to thank Les Knight and Shana and Director Sam for that. So a lot of work in that. So thank you everybody for your input. Next item is 12.1.2, which is the Events Grants Program 2023-24, round one, and the successful applicants. Could I have someone to introduce that, please? Thank you, Councillor Cordy.
Thanks, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide council with the outcomes of the Events Grants Program 23-24, to outline the decision process of council officers for the allocation of funds. And I'll move the recommendation as printed. The council notes the successful applications for round one of the Events Grants Program for 2023-2024 for a total allocation of $38,000.
Thank you, Councillor Cordy. Do I have a second to that motion? Councillor Gardner. Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
Yes, look, there's been some great work done here, and there's some wonderful organisations conducting events right across the Shire. There's really a lot of competition for these funds, but it's really some great events, and yeah, I congratulate all those that were successful. Some of the ones that were unsuccessful were ineligible for various reasons, but yeah, it's all documented, and it's done at arm's length to councillors, and it's there's going to be some fantastic events in the 12 months going forward. So thanks for all those that have submitted, and yeah, there's going to be some great events. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Cordy. Councillor Gardner, would you like to say something?
I'll briefly thanks. I think Councillor Cordy sort of said most of it. There are obviously, these are small grants, and whilst they sort of aren't a lot of money, they do make a difference to some of these groups, and so it's going to be good to see some of these events go ahead. I mean, for me, particularly obviously the Melbourne East Fair receiving grants good, and I know that there was one from Melbourne who didn't, so I would suggest they seek feedback from the officers and try it again next year, but not everyone's guaranteed to get a grant just because you put in for it. But I think also just so that people are aware, and I think Tony said it, that councillors, we don't make the decision, we set the strategic framework, and officers make the recommendations and by the framework that we make. So
thank you. Thank you, Councillor Gardner. Any councillor would like to speak to the motion, please? Councillor Neal.
I guess picking up on what my colleagues have said, the Events Grants Program is great, and it's just offering a lot of these events, some of which are quite big, just a little bit of extra help. I really like the spread of events in this round. I think because we don't see them during the decision-making process anymore, so it's always very interesting to see what comes through. And there's such a lot of diversity in here, and even though quite a lot are in Castlemaine, obviously there's a number in the outer communities as well. I like the way that they're not all, I love one thing. There's a lot of variety in here. I did make a mistake last time of saying that there's something in here for everyone. I will refrain from saying that again because I know that people have different interests, but I guess my suggestion for people who feel like perhaps there isn't something in there for them is to think of an event that they would like to attend, because so many of these events got started with an events grant and became year-on-year events through a little bit of help. So I think, if you've got a dream, if there's something that you really are interested in that you don't see in these lists, there's nothing stopping you from coming up with your own event or project and applying to be funded either through the events grants program or the community grants program. I think there's a really great spread here, and there's a lot on here. When I was highlighting the ones that I'd be pretty excited about, it was almost all of them, which I think is always a good sign. That I have, very wide interests. I think it's great, always.
Thank you, councillor. Any other councillors like to say something? Okay, we have a recommendation that council notes a successful application for round 1 of the events grants and program 23-24, the total allocation of 38,000. But prior to that, councillor Forty, would you like to reply to Bill?
I think we've covered it. There's some great events coming up. So well done to everyone applied. Thanks.
Thanks, councillor Forty. Are these recommendations all those in favour? Motion carried. I just want to note there were some organisations that were unsuccessful, and as Councillor Gardiner said, I think you should go back for some feedback because I think it's a fair process and you missed out for some reason, and I think you should find out what that reasons are for potential in the future. So thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is 12.1.3, which is the response to petitions regarding commercial kangaroo harvesting in Mount Alexander Shire. Could I have someone to introduce that, please?
That'd be me, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Gardiner.
This report, this report responds to two petitions received in relation to commercial harvesting of kangaroos within Mount Alexander Shire. The first petition was tabled on the 15th of August 2013. Council meeting from a local farming group in support of commercial harvesting of eastern grey kangaroos with Mount Alexander Shire. And the petition specifically requested that council, one, investigate the full social and emotional and economic impact on farmers, the community and environment of the increasing populations of eastern grey kangaroos in the Shire, and report findings to our community before making representatives to the state government of Victoria regarding the kangaroo harvesting management plan. The second petition was tabled at the 19th September 2023 council meeting. Residents and non-residents of Mount Alexander Shire, which fully supported council's decision right to the Victorian state government calling for a ban of commercial killings of kangaroos in the Shire. The petition was tabled at the meeting of council 19 September 2023, and a total of 268 petitions were received from residents of Mount Alexander Shire in support of the petition. The petition specifically stated we as council to take immediate action in advocating against this cruel and dangerous wildlife trade that is negatively impacting the amenity of residents and undermining the environmental and touristic values of the Shire. And I would recommend both other councillors we adopt an original recommendation.
You're on page 2 of that.
Let's see, my computer went down. And I recommend it as printed.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gardiner. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Forty. Councillor Gardiner, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I won't labour on it. And sorry, I was reading the second page. I'll walk on a bit about it. But basically, in a nutshell, what we had was in response to my motion, which we've already had questions today, which indicated that as council, I have the right to move a motion as I see fit, which was supported by the council. my fellow councillors. I understand that, this is a vexed issue in some ways. There are people for and against. And obviously we had two petitions, obviously farming community who are for it and then other people who are against it. Essentially the recommendation from this is that, we don't take the action any further. And yeah, I think that's probably about as much as I need to say.
Thank you, councillor Goma. Do I have any objectors to the motion? Do I have anyone who wanted to speak to the motion, please? Councillor Corley, you second the motion. Would you like to say something?
Yes, thanks for that, Mayor. Look, it's a very complex issue. It's brought to my attention earlier today that the state government, the draft plan is out for further comment now. The 24, I think it's 24 to 28 plan, and has some changes to it. I'd encourage people that want to be informed on this issue to have a look at that. I understand that if you like, the kangaroo protection side of the debate is rallying around to have some comments there. So perhaps it'd be appropriate to balance that up with some views of some farmers. But it's a very, very tough issue, and it's severely impacting on local farmers. But it's not the issue we have at council is we don't really have the resources to do a lot of investigation on this matter, and that's really what the recommendations about. It's we're not going to proceed further with it because we've got a divided view. Like council's got a position in support of Councillor Gardner's motion, but we're just it's not something that we can control. So it'd be good to have a read of the latest document from the state government. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Corley. Are there any speakers for or against the motion? Yes, councillor New.
I think, as previous councillors have said, it's a very nuanced issue. There's lots of emotions about animals in general, and kangaroos definitely. I accidentally wasn't here at the meeting where we decided this time, but I was watching it from a very long line. I'd accidentally booked a ticket to go to a concert with my daughter, but I watched it from the line for the merch, and I was really impressed with how everyone, I felt like listening to the speakers on the night. If I had been here, I would have been really conflicted as to which way I would have voted. Obviously noting that I then put the then deputy mayor in the position of needing to use his casting vote, which is always a bit of a tough one. I think my gut reaction to this issue is always that I don't like the idea of kangaroos being shot. I feel like I have a really visceral reaction to the idea of that, just as a person who quite likes kangaroos and animals in general. And I think definitely listening to animal advocacy groups talk about this, they really talk up the amount of suffering I think that kangaroos can go through. But that really was only one side of the picture. And since then, I've been fortunate enough to have heard from both people who, are employed as shooters as part of this program, and farmers and residents who use shooters as part of this program, and really hearing about the impacts of kangaroos on farming as well. It is a lot more nuanced than I think I initially thought it was. It has been really great to learn more about it. Through both of these petitions asking us to do various things. I'm not prepared as a person, as myself, as a councillor, to advocate for us spending quite a lot of money on this issue at this point in time. I would be quite happy to support us not doing any further advocacy to state government. But I think it is an issue that will continue to be around. So it's one that we all should be really listening. We need to do really good listening on this one and make sure that if we are ever faced with something like this again, we need to have as much information as we can, because I really thought that I knew what I needed to know, and have since had to be challenged myself internally and go, I'm not sure that my initial decision there would have been right. So it's been a real reflection for me with this one, because I do have that very visceral reaction of like, no, I don't like kangaroos being shot. But now that I know more about it, I'm very conflicted. So I highly support not doing anything more at this time. And just in future, absolutely doing the best listening we can, making sure we have as much information as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Any other councillor would like to speak for or against this motion and speak? Yes, councillor Henderson.
Mainly just to clarify what the motion that we're voting on is to advise the petitioner for petition 1 and petition 2, so presumably that's separate petitioners, that 1, no further investigation is planned to be undertaken. 2, no further representation will be made to the Victorian Government on the implementation of the kangaroo harvest. Being made clear to us in the report certainly that in order to have some valid information which to base a decision, we first of all need to know how many kangaroos we've got, or the nature of the population of kangaroos in our shire. Given that they're wild animals, prone to living in forests when they're not feeding on our farmland, they can travel where and when they want, but quite a distance. So I think it would be extremely difficult to carry out that research, and we've been advised with costs of around $50,000. Money we just don't have. I can see that we're not really able to carry out. So I support the
Thank you, councillor Henderson. Anybody else from the council? Councillor McClure.
Mayor, I think a couple of councillors have reiterated that the motion of one was for the council just to advocate for the banning of commercial kangaroo harvesting. I mean, I do recall the discussion debate we had around this issue at the time. I do note that I was disappointed that we didn't do enough work to look at other sides of the story, and that's what I'm preaching now. But I do support the motion. That it wouldn't be right until we understand what has come out of part of the report that was mentioned before anyway. We needed to understand that, and I don't know how that mechanism will happen going forward. I guess we'll be told by somebody what's in it, and if there is any repercussions from the show, but I'm happy to support the motion and respond. We don't do anything else until we do understand what is in it. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor McClure. The other councillors? Councillor Gardner, you have a right of reply. Would you like to say something?
No, I'll leave it alone.
Thank you, councillor Gardner. We have we've moved the motion. We have a seconder. All those in favour of the recommendation? All those against? Sorry, I'll say that again. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. All those against? No, sorry, this motion is unanimous. Thank you. Next item is 12.1.4, which is the community consultation results, banning of dogs at Western Reserve. Councillor Neil, I think this is your motion.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to update council on the action taken in response to notice of motion 004/2023, which was carried at the meeting of council on 15th August 2023. The notice of motion stated that council officers 1, undertake a targeted community consultation process to obtain feedback from relevant users and interested parties on the impacts of the current prohibition of dogs on Western Reserve under the order of council adopted on 15 February 2022. And 2, provide a report on the findings, including an opinion on the need for every potential amendment to the order of council in relation to Western Reserve at the November 2023 meeting of council. In line with the Local Government Act 2020, feedback was sought from the community on the existing order of council and potential amendments at Western Reserve, In total, 474 submissions were received during the feedback period of 33 days. The number of submissions demonstrates the high levels of community interest in allowing dogs on lead on the oval playing surface at the Western Reserve. The feedback highlighted 73% of the respondents were in support of the return of dogs on lead on the oval playing surface at the Western Reserve, 22% being opposed and 5% being undecided. I move the recommended motion that Council 1 notes the community feedback on the potential amendment to the Order of Council dated 15 February 2022. 2, approves amending the Order of Council to allow dogs on lead on the playing surface at the Western Reserve. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Neer. Do I have a seconder? Yes, thank you, Councillor Anderson. Is there any opposition? Thank you. Councillor Neer, would you like to speak to the motion or reserve your right to speak?
I will speak to my motion. I've written something down because I think this topic has shown me is that there's a high level of care both in this room and in the community about this topic. And I wanted to get it really clear because there's so many different tangents I could go off on. So I've got something relatively written down and we'll go from there. So Council has a new communications and engagement policy, which we adopted at our last meeting. Its core vision is that we as Council will start by asking, when we first made the decision that prohibited dogs from playing surfaces as part of adopting the new Order of Council in February last year, after adopting the Domestic Animal Management Plan in December 2021, we had asked, as part of community engagement in mid-2020, so that's before the life of this council, we heard from 463 people, a mix of dog owners, cat owners, owners of both, and those who own neither, on the proposed new Order of Council. From the results of that, there was strong support for keeping dogs away from playgrounds and the Wesley Hill Velodrome and keeping them on a leash when out and about in towns. We asked again. This council requested further information and more specific data was collected through another round of consultation in April and May 2021. Another 223 responses were received. Again, a good mix of dog, cat, both, and no animal owners. When asked about dogs on the Shire's 14 reserves, the combined answers evidence that 68% of respondents would like to share the reserves with dogs. The Western Reserve had one of the highest levels of support for continuing to share the space with dogs on leash, 71% of respondents. After I had been approached by many local residents and visitors about the dog ban, particularly their ban from the Western Reserve, I moved a motion at the August Council meeting this year asking that we ask again, because I wanted to know if we had got this one right. Another month of consultation yielded 474 further submissions, 72% of which indicated support for allowing the Western Reserve to be shared with dogs on leash again. I firmly believe in this start by asking approach, but we also need to follow the asking with listening to what our community says when we ask. And of course, that doesn't mean we'll always agree because we have to balance community voice with all the other information that we are provided and we gather, but we do have to listen. That's why I'm moving this motion to allow dogs on leash back onto the Western Reserve. To end, of course, I acknowledge that throughout the consultation processes, concern has been raised about owners who don't responsibly manage their dog's behaviour, location, volume, or bodily emissions. These concerns are not specific to the Western Reserve, but extend to all parks, reserves, and open spaces throughout the Shire. I get it. Dogs can be annoying, they can be frightening, and they can be unhygienic. But I believe that most dog owners do the right thing, and penalising everyone because the minority of dog owners don't practice responsible pet ownership doesn't feel right to me. I don't own a dog, but I see the joy they bring so many people, kids and older people, families, people who meet them in the park. I even know a lot of people who co-own a dog with their ex-partner. So many people have told me the stories of how their dogs have helped them feel less lonely, more active, more social, more purposeful, and more connected. Pet ownership is associated with all kinds of positive physical, mental, and emotional health outcomes. I don't want to exclude people from community space in our town, and I want to demonstrate that I'm listening. I urge my colleagues to listen to and to support this motion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, councillor Anita, and thank you not for reserving your right to speak because you're not allowed.
I wasn't allowed to do that.
But however, Christine, seconded, the motion, would you like to, speak to the motion or reserve your right?
Thank you, I reserve my right to speak.
Okay, great, thank you. Speakers. Any speakers against the motion? Like to say something? Councillor McClure?
Thank you, Mayor. I've written a few things down too, because I'm not sure I agree with Rosie. It's a very interesting topic, and there's been lots of discussion around the community regards to it. I've had lots of discussion with people in recent days or recent months about it. I don't support the officer's recommendation or the motions presented to allow dogs back on the surface of the Western Reserve. My greatest concern is the reputational risk relative to council reconsidering its position on this recently introduced order. I suspect if this ban is overturned on this order, then other requests will follow. My support of the original proposal to ban dogs from the surface of the ovals where sport is played stems from my concern for the health and welfare of our young people playing on ovals covered in dog excrement, which includes urine. A report from the Camp Reserve Committee at the time highlighted the issue that they had with picking up dog excrement prior to every match. It was disgraceful, and I've noted from survey results that 82%, that was 268 contributors to the survey that Rosie mentioned, of the respondents had concerns about dog owners not picking up their dog food. So obviously the problem still exists. There was discussion around where was the discussion around health and safety of our children in the findings in this report, particularly in relation to worms or other infections that humans can get from animals. Worms, dogs and cats can pass worms or in their larvae or in their feces. These worms and eggs and larvae can survive for weeks and even years in areas such as parks, playgrounds and yards. Children are more vulnerable to infection results because they play on the ground. It may have been helpful to run some specific tests on the playing surface to support this notion of health and safety concerns in regard to sporting ovals, if that didn't happen. Gastroenteritis may be transmitted between dogs and people through their stool or even saliva. Exposure to animal feces has been associated with diarrhea, soil transmitted infection, trachoma, environmental enteric dysfunction, and growth faltering. The EPA, Environment Protection Authority, estimates that waste produced by just 100 dogs in 2 or 3 days or in 1 week can contain enough bacteria to temporarily close a bay to swimming as shellfish. So what is this doing to our local food waste environment? I pulled that from the EPA's own documentation. Council has a responsibility, in my view, to ensure that all our facilities are safe for people to use. Our children are playing on these surfaces infected with dog waste, and people think it's okay. I don't. And I oppose the overturning of this law for this reason alone. On reflection, I think the targeted consultation process to obtain feedback from relevant users, i.e. the market attendees, was always going to provide an obvious result of returning the dogs to the owner. Disappointed we didn't target the other users, so the sporting groups who use the owners. For instance, while officers confirmed that the sporting groups that use the reserve were advised of the community consultation and provided with a link to SHAPE, they weren't targeted specifically. We thought that we did hear and get information back from them. I didn't see any responses from them in the survey, which I looked through. It may have been there, but I didn't see it, which is disappointing. One of the comments I saw in the documentation I was provided was, Western Reserve is a central community-based open space. It is not non-dedicated high ends. It is a non-dedicated high-end sports field, which should be available to all. The Western Reserve is predominantly a sports field and is used for many sports, particularly cricket and soccer. The council recently had a deputation from the Soccer Association pleading for more playing surfaces to be made available for their growing sport. The growth of women's participation in football, we heard from some people tonight, particularly cricket, soccer, football and other sports has placed additional pressure on the availability of open space. So the use of the Western Reserve as a sports playing surface is only going to grow, not lessen. The Reserve Committee has had challenges recently with sharing the facility fairly amongst all the users, as have other reserves that we heard tonight, so we cannot diminish the important place that the Western Reserve will play in providing suitable oval space, sports and sports practice for our children and young people. For children and young people, being active every day has many social, emotional, intellectual and health benefits, so the Shire should be actively encouraging the use of this reserve for organised sport and recreation, not diminish its importance by downgrading it to a community open space. The feedback from the community, while generally supportive, highlighted several key public concerns which are generally in nature, not specific to the Western Reserve. I'm quoting from the report here, but across all parks and gardens and open space throughout the entire municipality. 327 contributors answered the question regarding if they had any concerns outlined. The concerns fell into the following major themes: dog excrement, dogs running off leads, and general dog owning and behaviour. 55%, 180 contributors of respondents had concerns about the behaviour of the dog and the lack of control by their owners. There were comments such as, I do not trust any dog around my small children. Every market I attend, I have a dog being allowed to rush up to them. Every market I attend, I have a dog being allowed to rush up to them. I have witnessed a dog urinate on the stall before. There are other experiences where people have been bitten by dogs at the market. The community also highlighted managing food hygiene as a specific concern to the Western Reserve, which hosts the farmers market. Owners don't have no control of their dogs, quote, food markets of the people. Not all people love your dog. Some are quite fearful of other people's dogs. We must be able to cater for all of our community, not just a small cohort who insist on taking their dogs everywhere. We don't hate dogs. Our families had dogs all our life, but they stay at home. We never seen the need to take them shopping or exercising with other dogs. There is ample community open space available to walk or exercise dogs without the need to take them onto sporting events. There are pathways across the township, community open spaces outside most ovals, the botanic gardens, and the township is surrounded by bushlands and forests. And I will foreshadow the alternative motion to move the market away from reserve if this motion is not successful. Thank you, Councillor Ford. Councillor Maltby.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Councillor McClure is 150% correct. One of the major issues is the health issue, and that is why we as a council on the 15th of February 2022 made a considered decision to ban dogs on playing surfaces. The Western Reserve is used massively for sport. Yes, it's a multi-purpose reserve, but most ovals in the Shire are multi-purpose. But the majority have space. It's not the oval where the dogs can be walked or let run. You can do two things. You can reintroduce dogs to the Western Reserve and create a health issue, or you can ban sport from the Western Reserve. It's as simple as that. The market necessarily need to be on the Western Reserve. One, it's creating a traffic issue in forestry every first Sunday of the month or whatever it is. I'm not sure that we've got plans to put crossings in there yet or not, but it is a major traffic issue, and residents in Green Hill Avenue are now telling me they can't get their cars out on that Sunday from their driveways. So the market issue does need addressing, but more importantly, the health issue of what dogs do to the ovals. And yes, it's probably possibly not the dog's fault, it's the owner's fault. If you can train some dog owners, I'll congratulate you. But seriously, you can do two things. Let dogs back, let children get ill, or ban the sport from the oval as well. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Maltby. Any other councillor like to speak to this? Yes, councillor Gordon.
Thanks, Mayor Driscoll. For me, this is a bit of a coin toss. It's a line ball decision, and I'll just make a couple of comments. I don't support dogs at farmers markets, which include food stalls. For me, it's problematic. All right? I take on board Councillor McClure's comment that just because you like your dog, other people don't necessarily want your dog in their face or in the face of their kids. So, you know, if dog owners are not responsible, it's very, very problematic. I think I know how the numbers might go on this one. And for me, if this gets up, it's not going to be an unwinding of our policy. This is going to be a one-off. And you know, I think we need to put it to bed. And I'm inclined to support the motion because we've gone out for community consultation, and yes, it's targeted consultation. You've got to ask, well, what does that mean? We only ask people that have got dogs, maybe, but we've gone out to the community. The community want it, and but for me, that's definitely going to be a one-off. If it comes up again, well, we might revisit the total ban. So. Yeah, very difficult one. Certainly don't want to see people having to pick up dog droppings before kids play competitive sport on ovals. But this oval is very, very dear to our hearts. It's in the centre of town, but yeah, we'll see how the vote goes. But yeah, I'm very serious about it. I don't see any change to the ovals across the Shire that are used for competition sport. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Cordy. Any other councillors? Councillor Gardner.
Last and then Christine. Sort of with Tony, it's a bit of a learn a lesson. Probably don't go near dogs and kangaroos anymore. Oh, sorry. And obviously, I was very strong and supportive of bans on ovals, and I am still very strong. And I do take Gary's point. The reputational risk, and that is something that I've been mulling over. But I think Councillor Cordy is right. This is a once-off, and to me, I would not entertain or see it go to other ovals. I think the Western Oval is a bit different to the other ovals, and there is a case. And I do believe that I mean, it's during the budget submission bill post when Jacqueline spoke. There was obviously quite strong support from traders for that market. There was sort of strong evidence put forward that the dogs being removed had affected trade and stuff. And obviously, we did go out and we did ask the question, and there was it's a reasonably strong support of dogs going back there. However, it does concern me the health effects, and it does concern me that not all people like being in places where there are dogs. I don't. I have a dog. I leave it at home. I don't take it out everywhere. So yeah, back to the issues. I'm still thinking, so I'm still really interested to hear the rest of the debate.
Thanks, Councillor Gardner. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. That's up to me, isn't it? There you go. I don't know if I can do that. We went out specifically to ask the community targeted consultation, i.e. those people who use the Western Reserve. Yeah. Now, the 37 store owners were asked. That's 37 out of 474. 20 more to go. And they were specifically asked. And they're at the mark. That's easy, they're there. Not so easy to go out and ask a bunch of kids playing soccer or their parents at the time, or you think because they're a bit busy doing other things, they're not standing still. So, or anyway. So, but I'm saying in the report, in the commission, that all sports clubs that use the reserve were invited to provide feedback via the SHAPE page. Now, I would expect that if you've got a message as a secretary of the SHAPE or whatever, of a sports club, and you heard that dogs were going to be allowed back potentially, and it was a real problem to you beforehand, that you would have rallied every single member of that club to go to the SHAPE page and put in some feedback. That would be my expectation. Then you would, I thought I would agree. You know, if there's been proven go to row all over the place and half the team have got sick from gastroenteritis because of fallout, literally, then it would be a major concern. But yes, it's come back that 474 people contributed to, that's quite a lot, really a lot in the same way, and 343 of those support the return. Of those 343, as well as the 23% said no. So they would ask, you know, if you, regardless if you say yes or no, what are your main concerns about dogs? What do we first of all think when we think of a dog around? We think of food. You know, babies when happy, dogs don't. So it's a problem. Yeah, we don't like it. A dog's not leashed? No, definitely not. And that was the next thing that people were concerned about. Dog owner and behaviour. I don't often go to the market. When I do, I have to say that well, even anywhere in the country where dogs are now, it's a completely different story. It used to be 10 years ago, 30 years ago. You know, our next dog owner, the dog owner, I don't know it's true. And so, but the dog always stayed at home. But these days, the dog goes with you. And Catherine is nailed it. The dog has a different place in the family these days. More people choose, or unfortunately do not have children, and the dog plays that part. Some people have plenty of kids, and the dog goes along with them too. The dog is a really important part of many, many families. And I've noticed the change in dog behaviour. If one dog meets another on the leash, it used to be war. You know, those dogs are snarling at each other and everyone's dragging them away from each other. Now it's the owners are saying, oh, can we talk? Oh, yes. And two dogs approach each other with each other. And next thing you know, they're having a conversation. So dogs are just very different in our society now. And a very important place for showing off your beautiful dog is the market and having a social time for everyone. So, but even if it's not the market, it's a very nice place to walk your dog. It's in town, you know, in Green and Lovely, or in real estate. Not that many places, and people really don't like taking their dogs to the bush, especially in a lot of dogs get bitten by snakes. So, you know, it is actually a useful open space for walking dogs as well, I suspect. Anyway, the main thing is we listen to the community, we ask them, we listen, we say yes to places. Over to importance of it, saying let the dogs scratch. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Anir, as the mover, you have a right to speak.
I'm actually going to use it this time. For my primary school debating, will just return to me some problematic questions. All right, look, I know that there's differences of opinion about dogs. That's fine. I think there always will be. Just with many other issues, you know, I had that woman, a person recently tell me that children repelled them. I obviously don't subscribe to that either. I think it is a bit much really to say that by moving this motion, I'm you know, putting children in danger. I think that is a bit much for me to take on, to be honest. Prior to taking a year off to be mayor, I've been working in a school. and I've worked in a school with teenagers long before I worked in primary school. A big new thing happening in schools is bringing your dogs in, because dogs actually, for especially for kids who have complex trauma, for young people who have mental health problems, and especially for kids and young people with neurodiversity, what has been found is that dogs help regulate them. So up until very recently, the Flow program up on Eddy Street had a therapy dog there every single day, and the change in those kids was incredible. At the school that I've been teaching at a little bit, the teachers taken a chance to bring their dogs in. You know, I talk about this a lot, how many kids have neurodiversity, and I think they probably always did, and we're just better at picking up on it now. But the change in a class when their teacher brings the dog in for the day, one of the teachers borrows her friend's dog. She doesn't bring in her two yappy dogs because they might scare the kids. She borrows a very friendly, very soft dog called Billy. Billy comes in and does her work alongside Helen, and the kids love it. I don't like the idea that, I mean, basically what I'm hearing is that any parent who has a dog and children is exposing their children to getting ill all the time. I don't believe that is the case. What you know from having children, and most of us in this room are parents, they get sick all the time anyway, and very little of that is coming from our animals. I have cats. We've never had worms from our cats. We sleep with the cats. The cats, you know, come and do all kinds of cat stuff all over us. We haven't had worms. I don't know of anyone I know who's got children and a dog who has ever even considered that. What they consider are the well-being aspects that the dogs bring to their family and their kids. I also work a lot with teenagers, and I do an activity during our second session where I make them commit their homework for the week is to go and do a self-care activity that has to involve another person. So it's got to be social and it's got to be good for you. We report back on it the next week. I've just done this session on Monday, so it's still very fresh in my brain. Over half the class talked about going for a walk with a dog with their friends. That was their choice of activity. You're saying that sport is more important. It's a more important form of activity than walking your dog, which occurs every day. It teaches responsibility. It teaches you how to pick up dog poo, which is something that every dog owner is going to have to do at some point. Kids hate it, but you do it because that is the right thing to do. I cannot get on board with that. And I cannot get on board with saying that by reintroducing dogs to an oval, we are putting children in danger. The very same kids who live with dogs and sleep with them in their beds and love them, I don't agree with that. I don't agree that this motion is starting to lean towards moving the market. That was not what this consultation was about. I understand that the market is on that space, as well as sport, as well as state festival activities, as well as other things. That is why I believe, and I'm going to maintain this, that is a multi-use space. That is not just a sports space. And I'm not going to have that fight right now, but I'm going to say that again because I don't think that it should just be a one-use space. I don't think that is fair. And I think having a knee-jerk reaction to this conversation where you go, oh, well, it's either dogs or sport. I don't agree, Councillor Motley. I don't think they are the only two options. I think there is a way that things can coexist, and we are not trying hard enough to find that solution. Again, when I suggested that this be targeted consultation, I was very specifically talking about targeting it to users of the reserve. I was not really interested in what someone from Malvern who never uses the Camp Reserve thinks. It's no offence, Stephen. I'm not actually talking about you. I popped Malvern out because it's in my brain. I was interested in what the users of the space that we're talking about, the space that we're affecting for. And I do agree that, yes, we asked everyone, we gave everyone an equal chance to respond. I don't know. There was never meant to be anything. I feel like there's a real perception that I tried to do this in a way that was like, but on the down low, only ask people with dogs. And in no point was that my intention. And I would have happily been proved wrong because I don't particularly care because I'm not a dog owner. What else? The last one that I want to touch on, the reputational risk. Look, I considered this too, and you know that my risk appetite is very high. I've never made any secret of that. Regardless, I don't think this is a high-risk decision because even in our own report here, under reputational risk, it does list what the reputational risks are, and then it says any negative reputational risk can be offset. If council chooses to amend the order of council to allow dogs on leave at the Western Reserve, this will be showing the community that we have listened to what they want. and are taking steps towards the most popular outcome. We are meant to be listening. We can't keep not listening. It's not okay in my perspective. And as well, the suggestion, I feel like the suggestion that I brought this back too soon or something is, I could bring this back whenever I wanted. As Councillor Gardner has said, we have every right to bring a notice of motion through. In my mind, when we made the original decision, I said, I'm going to give it a year and see how it goes, because this particular oval, the Western, did not sit well with me. I waited more than a year. We made the decision in 21. I put this notice of motion through in August this year. That is getting on for, it's over a year and a half. So I feel like there's been things said that I don't want to take responsibility for. I don't want kids to get sick, no way. But I believe that for a lot of children, for a lot of people, for a lot of families, the culture around dog ownership has changed. Dogs are more a part of their family. And what we're working towards, if we keep following the path that we're on now, is a dog unfriendly Shire. I don't think that's a good move for us. I think we need to be very careful if that is what we're working towards, because people really care about their dogs. And we're talking about inclusivity. I don't know. It's one thing to say, I want everyone to be able to use a space, but you're also saying, but not if you want to bring your dog. So I don't know. I feel like that's a bit of a flawed argument as well. I don't know. My mind hasn't changed about this. I'm still supportive of the motion I'm putting through, and I really want my fellow councillors to think about everything we've just heard before they vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor O'Neill. Thanks, councillors, for the fantastic debate. Now, we have a motion to put forward with the seconder, and that is that council notes the community feedback on the potential amendment of the order of council dated the 15th of February 2042, and 2, approves amending the order of council to allow dogs on lead on the playing surface at the Western Reserve. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Cordy, Councillor Annear, Councillor Gardner, and Councillor Henderson. All those against? Councillor Maltby, Councillor McClure, Councillor Driscoll. Motion's carried.
I call for a division, please, Mayor.
Yes, certainly. So, all those in favour of the motion, Councillor Cordy, Councillor Annear, Councillor Gardner, and Councillor Henderson, and all those against, Councillor McClure, Councillor Maltby, and Councillor Driscoll. Motion carried. Thank you. So once again, thanks for that debate in a respectful manner. Next item. Note that Councillor Corley is out of the chamber for a few moments. So next item on the agenda is 12.2.1, which is the waste management strategy 2023 to 2033. Will I have someone introduce that, please? I think that's Councillor Henderson. Thank you, Councillor.
This report presents the Waste Management Strategy 2023 to 2033 for adoption and first year action plan for noting. Waste Management Strategy 2023 to 2033 sets out the strategic direction Council's approach to managing waste generated within landfills. The strategy has incorporated high-level actions to reduce the amount of material sent to landfill and to encourage the reuse and recycling of material as much as possible. The final Waste Management Strategy 2023-2033 presented for adoption incorporates positive feedback and minor suggestions received from the community and the community working together. And I want to move that council adopts the Waste Management Strategy. And
Thank you, councillor Henderson. Councillor Gordon to come back to the room, thank you. And do I have a second of that? Councillor Neer, thank you. Any objections to that motion? Okay, thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Think better, it's a 10-year strategic plan, it's really important, it's one of the pillars of council's operation. CEO, the groups in such a not quite the truth, but anyway, it's deeply embedded. I know that's another question. It's got a lot to do with waste management in the past, in other places, and we have a strong team now, overseeing this, putting together this strategy, which is also supported by a community waste reference group, which I think is chaired by that council. Sorry, for sure. And as input. And of course, the important thing that we're facing as council, as our whole council in Victoria, is the compulsory introduction of the 4 waste stream collection, in addition to recycling waste streams, separation of large items of recycling, which we're already doing at the Westford station. But we will be having a third bin, I believe, in not too long from now. And then there is the separation of the all-important separation of food and organics waste. We're not quite sure what it's going to be, the state is going to impose on it now, but I hope it's going to include some more options. So this strategy is high level, so it's ready for whatever the state throws at us within the confines of their strategy. It's got 4 main goals: to reduce waste, number 1, of course, to increase resource recovery, to support the circular economy where there is no waste, to all just measure again, and to minimise environmental impact. So there are 4 pillars, goals of the strategy, and under those a number of focus areas, and then under that there's some actual actions which are important. It's a very strong strategy. It's been out for community consultation and the community feedback is generally pretty positive. So that's great. Obviously, it hasn't got too many details in here. It's a 10-year strategy. It's high level. But if we look at the actions, the first I'm going to pick out a few of my favourites. In reducing the generation of waste, of course, wouldn't be wonderful if that could go to zero. Then there's actually one of the actions is to analyse bin composition and volumes to understand waste trends and opportunities to reduce waste, increase reuse and recycling. That means we're actually going to be doing bin audits, which are fascinating things where the contents of bins are actually spread out on the ground, in our transfer stations, and other well-paid operators considerably go in and actually sort out and find out what was in those bins, what went into recycling, what did all real recycling, what we did the waste, how much recycling material was there, just to find out what's going on. It's the only way you can find out, apart from having cameras in the encryption. So that will happen all through the life of this strategy. What we're watching is important. And then also under reducing generation waste, very importantly, is to try and manage the food and organics waste that we produce. Because I don't think that's always 50% of what goes to landfill. And that's a tragedy because it's valuable material that's getting dumped and producing methane, which then causes problems, big problems for the environment. So we have a very active and enthusiastic and well-informed group called YIMBY, yes, in my backyard, operating in Castlemaine on a fairly small scale. They promise us they can scale up. And this strategy is ready to support the expansion of household level organic processing together with partners such as YIMBY. So I'm really looking forward to what we can do as a community. Big compost for myself and know the value of the good compost. I've got a child being able to use the compost. Really great yourself that with it. And then we have Oh, yes, of course, and let's see, reducing generation of waste. One of the focus areas is to minimise waste from councils' own operations. We can't do much about other people's, they've got to do their own jobs, but we can minimise our own waste. So that's a really important thing to do. The second goal, which of course is to increase resource recovery. We have to look at in-house collection of glass and food and garden and streams in the short term. And investigate, I like this one, investigate options for separation and management of difficult waste, usually soft plastic, nappies, straw, hidden horror, EV batteries, solar panels. Oh, come on, it used to be called on water dealing with what came into nappies, but now it all goes into landfill, horror. Who wants to wash nappies instead? Solar panels, textiles, etc. And what other gems have we got? Lots of action here gathered throughout the strategy, and of course we have the first year action plan, which tells us precisely what that can do in checkpoints and what. And every year there will be, I hope, the action plan for the year the council can know. And I'm sure we'll get regular updates on how it's going. The next council will get proceeding as well as reviews. I think they'll be for you. Great documents, great guiding documents, very wise, intelligent. Let's hope we can actually achieve all the actions and more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Neer, would you like to speak to your motion or reserve your right to speak?
I'll speak now. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
And I'll just pick up on pretty much everything Councillor Anderson has said. I think we knew from the start that the waste management strategy was going to be, you know, an important one to get right with the community in terms of how it's kind of aspirational versus achievable, because we both want it to be aspirational and kind of setting ourselves up for doing more. But at the same time, the reality is that our goals need to be achievable. Otherwise, we're just letting down the community in a different way, kind of at the end of the time, rather than letting them down differently up front. I think, I know when the plan went out the first time, some of the comments were around wanting council to be a little bit more ambitious in its strategic direction. And so, you know, the plan was changed and made, there were changes to the language used as well to make it a bit more accessible, which I'm always a huge fan of. Other stuff that was picked up through the consultation, and because, you know, we do have a community that, you know, lots and lots of people care very much about the way we manage waste. And over the last 3 years, I've somehow gotten to a point where, you know, I was one of those people who absolutely just put stuff in the bin and never thought about it ever again. And now I tie myself up into knots trying to figure out the right place to dispose of this piece of thing that I probably didn't even need to buy to begin with. Because of the people I hang out with and how driven they are to become a more circular economy and to look at the way that we culturally, you know, use things and perhaps buy more things than we need, and maybe they're not very good quality, so they can't be kind of upscaled or reused or recycled. So this has been great to wrap my head around all this. Not that my head is fully wrapped around it all, but I have a much better understanding of kind of where we're aiming for, and also what council's role in that is, because we can do some, and we have to do some, in fact. Expanding to perhaps a 4-bin system going forward will be obviously adding 2 extra bins. And I remember how long it took everyone to get their heads around the yellow bin when it was added. I feel like I grew up in that peak 90s, as a peak 90s child who was really slammed with that don't be a little bug kind of stuff. So I'm very opposed to litter, but we weren't very good at recycling. And that's something that I see my kids, you know, who have so many different waste streams at their school, recycling the soft plastic here, and they've got the compost and they've got the worm farm. And I'm so glad that they are learning these skills, because they come home and teach me the skills so that I can be, you know, a bit better at managing what goes in the green bin. I guess my green bin used to be very full every week, and now I'm getting better, you know, I compost a lot better. We're getting better in general at making different choices. I think council can do so much, and what we can do is really clearly stated in this document, things that we want to explore, things that we want to aim for. There is room for flexibility in here as we learn more about what the state government will expect of us, and also as other opportunities come up. But I think this document sets our, strategic direction really, really well. And I think it really hits the mark of being pretty, aspirational enough, while also hopefully being achievable. I think the one that I'm really excited about, and that we've talked about for a while, is under, it's one of the actions under focus, under goal, increase resource recovery of reusable and recyclable materials. And that's investigating the establishment of a resource recovery centre at Castlemaine Transfer Station, which I know has been longed after by a lot of people. I never thought that I would be so very interested in waste management, but I think getting it right at a council level is very important. But then also we can only do so much. The other bit is that people need to learn how to recycle better and to really manage their waste more efficiently. And I don't have the answer of how to do that, because a lot of people are very resistant to change and it's hard work, and I get all that. But I always think about when I lived in England after high school, and we had to separate all our waste out into, clear glass and brown glass and green glass and newspaper and cardboard. There are about 12 different bins, and you just did it. It was very easy in the end to do it, and you felt good about yourself for doing it. So I'm hoping that part of our strategy obviously is educating community and really bringing them along for the ride with us, because it'll be something that we're all needing to change and get on board with. We all, have different levels of buy-in, but I am really hopeful that we can, this is an area that we can get better at, and then also help community in general get better at, because this is obviously super important. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor New. Any other councillors want to say something? Okay, thank you. We have a recommendation. That's that council adopts the waste management strategy. Right. Thank you, Theo. Christine, you have a right to speak again if you wish.
No.
Okay, great. We have a motion put forward, adopts the waste management strategy 2033 and 2 notes and proposed first year action plan. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. The next item is 12.2.2, the asset management plan, infrastructure part A, roads 2023. We've had someone introduce that, and that's Councillor Neer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present Council's asset management plan, infrastructure part A, roads 2023 for adoption. The AMP Roads provides guidance, financial modelling and level of service measures to enable council to track performance of the asset classes over time and guide long-term financial planning. The AMP Roads will be reviewed at a minimum every 4 years. Several improvements to existing practice are identified, including revisiting the long-term financial forecast to better inform allocations of funding across renewal, upgrade and new road assets over the next 10 years. And developing the levels of service into measurable and practical terminology, which is easy for the community to understand. I move the recommended motion that council adopts the asset management plan infrastructure part A, roads 2023.
Thank you, Councillor Neer. Do I have a second for that? Councillor McLeod. Thank you. Councillor Neer, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes. Although I'm running out of an amount of speaking. Although, just as I've said about the waste management strategy, I do feel very proud of the asset management plan roads, or as I sometimes call it, the ramp, because I'm getting on board with acronyms now. But I found this just such a good plan, particularly because I think infrastructure kind of stuff is something that it takes me a little bit to wrap my head around, and sometimes I don't fully understand it, but I really got this, and it really showed me that without changing the way that we spend money on our assets, and in this case roads, but we'll also be talking about drainage in a minute. If we don't change the way that we do that, we're going to be looking at a lot of assets being in not very good condition down the track. So things are okay now, and that's fine. But gradually, and then all of a sudden, things will not be very good, and it will cost us a lot more down the track to get the assets back to the condition that they need to be in. So I think one of the big things that's come out of this is a recommendation that we. So currently, what happens in the long-term financial plan, there's only a single capital works line item for forecast expenditure for roads. So that's the total road budget, and it's an amount of money that is then divvied up between renewal of sealed, renewal of unsealed, upgrading, and new assets. And so we know that we don't have a lot more money to throw at this. And as part of the modelling, which is very thorough and has lots of great charts and stuff to look at, it showed that chucking a lot of money at it was not going to do as much as it might with some other assets. So it wasn't the solution just to, give it an unlimited budget. It still wasn't going to solve the problem as well as we would like. Plus, we don't have that kind of money to just throw at all the roads, even though obviously roads are a massive part of our shire. And on page 5 of the attachment, we have an awful lot of roads, just kilometres and kilometres, 544 kilometres of sealed roads, 876 of unsealed roads, and then carport parks and unformed roads as well. These all have different types of materials, they have different classifications. There is a lot more to know about roads than just you want council to do a better job of maintaining them. What I see from this is that we're doing the best we can with the money we have right now, but perhaps there's a way we can do even better by redistributing that total road budget in our capital works line item in our financial plan, and to put a little bit more money into renewal and less into new assets and upgraded assets. But to me, this seems like a really sensible way forward, because it means that things are getting fixed on a less reactive basis. We have a plan in place to manage our assets so they don't drop to unserviceable levels. And I think looking at this was such a lot to wrap my head around, to kind of go, what is the right thing to do here? But I feel like our team have done such a great job of really exploring a whole bunch of different kind of modelled ideas of how we could proceed, and putting forward the one that is going to suit us the best, which in this is scenario 2, which is increasing the yearly renewal budget to match depreciation levels. We're not even going to get started on depreciation. It is a whole thing, but it is going to help. Our roads are going to be better because of this, and we're not going to end up in this scary graph here in about 10 years where all our roads start getting quite bad. In about year 13, which is a while away, but still, I don't want to just pass bad roads onto the next council and kind of say that's your problem. So I think the approaches suggested in this plan are really, really sensible. There's just such a whole bunch of stuff in here in terms of recommendations for things that we can do better in the future, and an improvement plan right at the back. But I'm really confident that with what's set out here, this is a better option than what we are currently doing. I have a lot of faith that it's the right way to go. Thank you, obviously, to Dr. Anir and his team for all the work on this. It's fantastic, and I recommend it to my fellow councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Neer. Councillor Nicol, would you like to speak your motion?
No, Councillor Neer is nailed what the report is all about, and it's a good financial model for us to judge what's required in our budget. I think understands the lack of money that we're going to have moving forward. We get backwards instead of forward. But no, it is a great document and it's a good way model. What we need to spend on our access to is keep it in such conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nicol. Other councillors like to say something? No, Councillor. Oh, sorry, I didn't say thank you, Councillor Paul.
Yeah, just quickly, Mayor. At the MOV conference, we had a speaker from this is in October. We had a speaker from the Grattan Institute. She made it very clear that research supported fixing roads before they were buggered was the most cost-effective way to do it. So I'd like to congratulate Director Anir and Paul Disk for their work on this, and yeah, our road's going to be in great shape going forward. So it's very encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Corley. Councillor Annie, would you like to?
No, I'm okay. I think that, the statement fixing the road for the full is a good idea. I wholeheartedly support that and, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion in place, which is the council adopts the asset management plan infrastructure plan, part A roads. All those in favour? Thank you very much. And once again, I'd just like to say thank you to Director Anir, no relation to Councillor Anir, or Liz. Thank you.
Can I get some mileage?
I'm going to be a running joke.
Maybe I'll change my mind.
The next item on the agenda is 12.3.3, and that's the asset management plan infrastructure, part D, drainage. And do we have someone who can introduce that? I think it was Councillor Henderson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Summary, it says, the purposes report to present the asset management plan infrastructure part D, drainage. Okay, and that is every drainage provides guidance, financial modelling, and level service measures to enable council to tracking performance of drainage practices. Every 4 years. Which may be sooner depending on the outcome of the asset original. Several improvements to existing factors are identified in the financial plan. To provide a direct funding allocation for drainage renewal works, yes, and developing further the level of service into measurable and practical terminology, which is easy for the community to understand. And I move that council adopt the asset management infrastructure in drainage.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Do I have a second for the motion? Yes, Councillor Corley, thank you. Councillor Henderson, would you like to speak to your motion?
Well, I'd be tempted to speak extensively, but it is a long night. We've got lots to get through. So actually, he said this is the most important thing in council that. Obviously, we have roads, but where you've got a road, you've got to have drains. Road, no drains, it's just not going to last. It's going to work. There's the drains. You might this week, but you've got a mess. Everyone knows we've got a house, we've got to have good drains. Anywhere, like humans go, we've got to have good drains. And I think the importance of good drainage is really come to the fore, especially with climate change being the past more frequent, heavy bouts of rain, drought where we get around it, and then suddenly down from the deluge, and we have floods where we shouldn't have. And that's because of poor drainage. So I have noted that our infrastructure engineering department is really getting serious about drains these days. And this asset management plan for drainage is really just what they need to support the putting an actual budget line in funding for long-term funding specifically for drainage. Good. And to invest more money in specifically in drainage. There is a recommendations, there's 4 scenarios tested with modelling and comes up with here. Yes, well, scenario 2, which puts in a bit more money than we normally do and puts in specifically on. Not it's important. But one thing really good noticing is that drainage assets typically are not treated, unlike roads, are not treated until they're at end of life. And that's a critical condition. In critical locations, earlier intervention provides limited benefit of the asset and typically function satisfactorily up to the end of life.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Corley, would you like to speak to your motion or would you like to speak?
Yes, I'd like to speak. Thank you, Mayor. Look, drainage is very important, and this document sets up a plan for success, and I'm sure our infrastructure team's going to do a great job with the drainage. I note that while I was away, I spent a lot of time looking at Roman ruins, dating back 1600 years to 2000 years, and they had their drainage sorted pretty well. So I expect our team will be able to follow their lead. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Cordy. Councillors like to speak to the motion for or against? Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second that the council adopts the asset management plan. Structure, part D, drainage. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. And once again, thank you. So directly here and for this. Next item on the agenda is item 12.3.1, which is a planning permit application BA 177/2022 393 Simmons Road, going up. Can I have someone introduce that, please? Councillor Henderson, thank you.
The purpose of this report is to enable council to make a determination on an application that seeks a two-lot subdivision, planning extension, at 393 Simmons Road, Ballina. The application has been referred to council for decision that the plan cooperative recommendations to include the subject site is located within the farming zone. It is partly affected by erosion management overlay and environmental significance overlay pursuant to the planning scheme. The application has been assessed and considered to be contrary to the London sections of planning policy framework farming zone in relation to retention of agricultural land. Therefore, council officers recommend that the council form a position to refuse this application. And I'd like to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor McLeod. Thank you. Councillor Henderson, would you want? Is there any opposition to this? Okay, thank you. Councillor Henderson, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I first should thank the owners of the farm for allowing me and my fellow councillors to visit the site. I really appreciate that. It's always good to visit the site when I might be asked to maybe to see the planning application. I can see the thing in allowing the subdivision and allowing us to be advised from the farm. It's a very large farm, doing the consolidation councils, and it's a beautiful land. I have to say, this is a beautiful day. Looking up from the house side, it's magnificent country, mixed farming. It is the best. It's an example of the best farming land we have in the Shire. That's not to say it's the best farming land in Australia or even Victoria by a long way. But what we have in this country area, it is the best farming land. And the authors recommend refusal to protect the integrity of the farming and to encourage retention from agricultural land and to ensure that non-agricultural uses, including drones and other activity, affect the use of agriculture. You can argue, look, it's only it's only a little efficient. Why worry about it? And indeed, the emotion is very much to support the owners and go, of course, they can have a separate art. They're not, whatever they're done, traffic could be sold, it could be a separate item, another house can be built on the other land. But it's just, it's not the right thing to do. According to the planning scheme, and in this case, I think I have to support the opposite of the planning scheme. I'm passing away. Is that better? We got a buzz. But anyway, so I am supporting the officer's recommendation. We'll get ahead of that.
Okay. Thank you, councillor Henderson. Councillor McCall, would you like to speak to your motion, speak to the motion or would you like? Okay, thank you. Councillors, who would anybody would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Maltby?
I'm opposing the recommendation for this reason. And I do understand and respect the council planning officer's recommendation because of the zoning and the regulation. However, the whole property is 182 hectares. This piece that they wanted, this piece that they want to excise is only 1.5 hectares. The house is already there. Under the current planning scheme, the zoning is farming, they could apply to subdivide 182 hectares into 4 lots. Yes, the council officers might not recommend it, but they could go to BCAT and get that permit. They've explained why they want to do this to us. They can keep the big farm, granddad can live in family property. 1.5 hectares is rocky land. Granted, Councillor Henderson, that is some of the best farmland around. The 1.5 hectares is not farmland. It is under the zoning, but it's not. And right opposite is the township of Farrington. Common sense says to give them a permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maltby. Councillor Gardner?
Thank you, Ben. I think, Councillor Maltby, I agree with Councillor Maltby. I mean, this, family is 4th or 5th generation farmer, so this is not someone who's, blown one eye. I know that, the current applicant, Greg, has, been there, sheep and cattle for a very long time. Due to, the fact that there was a split in the property, he currently doesn't have a house. And he's living in town with his current wife and her mother. The house was originally built there as a future retirement. Greg, unfortunately, is probably looking to retire, and he put forward the succession plan that his children will take over his property. And that is, for me, a good outcome of farming zone, because quite rightly, as Councillor Maltby has said, it is a large farm. It is 183 odd acres, and he could turn around and split it into smaller lots and probably make a lot of money out of it. The intention is to move into this house after probably the mother is no longer with us, and it is only 1.5 hectares of the total property. It is on the boundary of the current township, and is very rocky and not particularly good great farmland. So this is a succession plan and a plan to keep the farm in operation and allow Greg and his wife to live there into the future and the children take over the farm. I mean, this is what farming is about. So that's why I entered it, and I would encourage my fellow councillors to see some common sense in it and not support this application. Motion made against that. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Gardner. Any other councillors like to say something? No? Okay. Councillor Henderson, you have a right to reply. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Councillor Paul, go for it.
I understand circumstances behind this application, but I've never backed away from supporting officers with these farming, putting up a farming land across the Shire. I don't think there's been too much of it done right across the Shire in the past. particular shires north of us here. The council, certainly the local and state government policy is against this happening. The proposed subdivision has been assessed against and is considered to be contrary to the relevant sections of the planning policy framework. And the report outlines a whole lot of reasons why we shouldn't be supporting this living up of this parcel of land. Agriculture is the main rural use in the area. The dominant agricultural use is broad acre grazing of cattle and sheep. Extensive cereal cropping occurs on large holdings of alluvial land and gentle sloping land to the southwest of the Shire. Council strategic directions are to protect agriculture are protecting agricultural land of local and regional significance, promoting agriculture, avoiding fragmentation of productive agricultural land through development dwelling subdivisions. The scope of the use and development of land that could create conflict with agricultural activities, which was made, controlling the unplanned loss of agricultural land in rural living and residential uses, protecting the irrigation and groundwater resources to support intensive agriculture, restructuring old inappropriate subdivisions and its scope in new dwellings and subdivisions. I even read the report from Agricultural, Victoria, I think it's from, Agriculture Victoria, and in summary, at the back of it, their recommendations are, considers that the proposed two-lot subdivision dwelling excision will create an as-of right for a dwelling on the proposed remaining lot 2 and potential future subdivisions. This would have the potential to diminish the long-term agricultural productive capacity of the land and may lead to the proliferation of dwellings in the farming zone and impact the surrounding agricultural land use. The refusal of this application appears supported by VCAT decisions cited in their documentation and by local, state and local planning authorities. We've got no guarantee what these people will do with this property. They can put it on the market once it's subdivided. We have no control over what they do with it. And I support the officers' recommendation in this instance to make sure that we do support our policy of not having the fragmentation of agricultural land around the Shire. Thank you.
Point of order, please, Mr. Mayor. I believe that the applicant already has as a right to build an additional dwelling because of the size of that property. So I believe the Department of Ag advice is actually incorrect. To what it's worth. It's 182 hectares, so got 100, anything over 100 acres, you've got to have the right.
Consolidate.
Do you have any answer to that?
I have to take that on notice.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I would like to raise that this is the second time that we have seen these applications, and it was preferred, sorry, I'll take that amendment, or that if they submitted a plan, it would probably be approved. And that was submitted. It's not in debate, I'm sorry. Sorry, probably spoken. Sorry. Councillor Anderson, you have the right to speak.
So, speaking this, the mic is working.
I think you get closer in this, yes.
Without pulling it out. Oh, yeah. Hang on. Look, I hear what my fellow councillors say. It's not about the personality involved, unfortunately. We make decisions based on the nature of the land, not the nature of the people who own it, or the circumstances. So that's one really. Planning scheme is all about the land, and especially when it pertains to agriculture. I don't know if you've got multiple 40 hectares, you can have multiples in houses. I don't know if it's like monopoly where 140 hectares includes one house, and 80 hectares includes two houses. In the Ansheen Hotel. But, anyway, that's just what I thought about that. I know it's hard rocky land. I know that they wouldn't build a house. It's agricultural land. They can beautiful place for a house. I don't know if BCAT can necessarily say yes, they're filling out to fall off. Based on the arguments we have been standard put forward, if you had to imagine the BCAT member going, sure, you can stop that up to fall off. But anyway, we have to think about the future. What about 50 years from now? That land. Is it still going to be viable agricultural land, assuming the climate is improving? 100 years from now, we have to try and protect agricultural land because the old song says the farmer's land is for agriculture.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Okay, so we have a motion in front of us. That the council resolved to issue a notice of refusal. All those in favour of that motion, please raise your hand. Okay, all those against? Motion's carried. We have Councillor Maltby's corporate division, so all those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. So that's Councillor Cordy, Councillor Anir, Councillor McClure and Councillor Henderson. And all those against the motion is Councillor Gardner, Councillor Maltby and Councillor Driscoll, or Mayor Driscoll. Now, I'd like to temporarily adjourn the meeting because we've exceeded 2 hours. So I'd like to adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes to take a break. Thank you.
It turns out it's not.
I think it's a genius, right? Like this. I'll have a side of the it's possible. The crazy things it's
Anyway.
Put something in front of it.
It's too big. Is this a new council strategy to then bring letters?
Microphones.
Sorry, thank you.
No, microphone's still on councillors, but there's a camera stand. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one's one.
No, they're all like that.
They're all, oh, I thought it was like, what did that?
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that like
How do you know?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful, John.
Yeah, it's actually really, really happy to do that. And lots of stuff that deserves to be spoken about.
Some sugars.
Yeah. They're trying, so many.
That's a good idea.
We do have some spare ones.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for that, for your patience. Next item on the agenda is 12.3.2, planning scheme amendment C99 adoption authorisation exhibition. Councillor Gardner, could you please introduce this?
Certainly. The purpose of this paper is to seek council support to request authorisation from the Minister for Planning to prepare an amendment to the Mount Alexander Planning Scheme, meaning C99 Mount X. This amendment seeks to correct inconsistencies in the Mount Alexander Planning Scheme associated with the heritage overlay and the operational provisions. These inconsistencies were identified following the implementation of previous amendment C97 Mount X, an amendment that sought to correct errors and anomalies within the planning scheme. And the recommendation, I'd like to do as.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. Do I have a second? Councillor Maltby?
Second.
Thank you. Councillor Gardner, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's no hidden agenda on this one. I think there was a number of anomalies identified, quite a few of them involved, actually, and some of them owned by council. So really, this really is about just fixing up the heritage identification in the scheme, and it will require obviously ministerial approval, and then that's also that's sort of a postal services put out there for process.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. Councillor Maltby, would you like to speak to your motion or reserve your right to speak?
Very simply, as Councillor Gardner says, it's procedural and it's cleaning up something that perhaps the previous Shire didn't do.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Maltby. Any other councillors like to speak to this motion? No?
No, I'm leaving.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to point out.
Hang on, Councillor Henderson, thank you.
These are amendments, particularly as part of the mopping up process that we've been doing ever since the.
Meeting council.
I read that.
Yes.
Okay.
That's okay, Councillor. Any other councillor like to say something? No, okay, we have a motion in place. All those for that motion, please raise your hand. Motion carried. Thank you. Next item we have on the agenda is item 12.3.3, which is our outdoor trading policy. Councillor Maltby, would you like to introduce that, please?
Thank you. The purpose of this report is to present the outdoor trading policy for adoption. Policy has been developed considering the balance between universal pedestrian access, car parking, and trading activities, and sets out the allowable trading on council managed land, including footpaths and other parts of the road reserve. Outdoor dining arrangements were expanded during COVID-19. These arrangements are expiring, and the outdoor trading policy sets out how council manages these activities into the future, including new fees, which offset administration and enforcement costs. The outdoor trading policy allows a range of trading on council managed land supported by procedures which define specific requirements that will determine the appropriateness of each application. New fees will offset administration and enforcement costs. I'd like to move that council adopts the outdoor trading policy, and 2, adopts the establishment of an annual parklet fee of $535 for one car space, $375 for each additional car space.
Thank you, Councillor Maltby. I have a mover. Do I have a seconder? Councillor McClure, thank you. Councillor Maltby, would you like to speak to your motion?
Anyone against?
What are you against? Yeah. Councillor Gardner, thank you. Councillor Maltby.
As I introduced, outdoor trading certainly grew because of COVID. Many retailers have always used footpaths, but now we're using car parklets. And it needs to be done in a managed and professional way. Setting a policy will help that happen and will also help make it safe. Because we also need to make sure that under the Disability Inclusion Action Plan with the federal government, that people can walk along the footpaths even though we're going to allow people to eat and have coffee, etc. And similar with car parks, if they're safe, and then having guards and barriers. We just witnessed that terrible accident in Darlington a few weeks ago. This policy will help release that as well. And it's not greatly overpriced in the costs. And then I comparing to some others that have been put in the report from another shop. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Motley. Councillor Fuller? Am I can reserve to speak or reserve?
No, wrap up, Bill said it all. I think it's a good policy, and as you said, the got to be careful about these outlets and moving forward. It's safe for everybody to use. I notice it's also about providing safe, clear and unpeded path for access to pedestrians. And while we encourage the use of footpaths for traders, it's got to be safe for people, including people who've got mobility issues and all the rest of it, to move safely along the footpath. When you travel overseas, the level of outdoor dining activity is enormous compared to the level that we do in this country. So I think there's opportunities for expansion, but it's got to be done safely and appropriately, and not look unsightly or just for policy.
Yeah. Councillor Fuller. Other speakers, councillors, Councillor Gardner?
Yeah. Been thinking about this one, and I don't think personally I've had my question satisfied, so it's why I'm raising it. So I'm absolutely not getting the pathway. Obviously, I actually personally feel this to be a lot more. What does concern me though is the decision being taken, which is about the safe access. Now, it is quite clear in that it says that there should be a building line, 1,800 metre pedestrian zone, a trading zone, 500 metres and 450 metres to occur. Now, there is nothing in the Shire that would meet that. So to have it in the policy is actually silly. Within Melbourne, my own town, that is not possible. And so whilst I note the policy talks about we will go through an education process to work with traders. I mean, I've already had traders who have raised the issue that they're going to be losing their things against their windows, that tables are going to have to be moved. And so this is why I'm speaking against it, because it is a bit vague and it's a bit unclear, and particularly when the policy, which is looking at the actual zones, nowhere in our Shire would meet them. That seems to me to be ludicrous.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. Councillor O'Neill.
I have some similar concerns as Councillor Gardner in that I think a number of establishments within our Shire would struggle to meet this pedestrian zone the way that it is proposed in the policy. But I also think that we've committed through our disability action inclusivity plan to make sure that there is universal access for people who have disabilities or have access needs. And that I think is important, very important as well. The things that kind of mitigate this for me a little bit is that I love the parklets, by the way. I have no problem with parklets. I've seen great uptake. I feel like people have used them really responsibly, and it really is a minimal number of spaces that are impacted. So I don't have a problem with the parklet bit of this. I do have concerns around the need to for all businesses who use the street to implement this new way of doing it, which I agree with Councillor Gardner won't work in a lot of places. But I do think that is mitigated by for instance, here, in instances where applicant businesses are not able to provide a 1.8 metre clear pedestrian zone, officers will work with them to find a solution that offers a minimal impact on pedestrian access. This allows flexibility where a pedestrian zone along the building line poses more of a safety risk. So I think I'm reassured that there is an amount of demonstration in our report here that, officers will be working with businesses who can't achieve the pedestrian zone towards the building for other ways to achieve universal access as much as possible for people who need to use the streets. And we all know there are examples of businesses here and lots of other places where, you really do struggle. And I think when I notice the most 2 times whenever I'm using a pram, especially if it's a bigger pram. I really notice how tight it can be to get along some streets. And I really notice it where I'm with my gran, who falls down a lot, uses a walker, has just massive amounts of instability in her movement, and how it can be so hard to get past a lot of things on the street. So I think I am supportive of this policy. I am reassured by the fact that there will be some discretion and some flexibility around everything needing to meet this exact standard, because I don't think it is achievable everywhere. And I think the other bit that reassures me is that there will be a hiatus on enforcement, e.g. fines, for a 6-month period to allow for community education in the space, and efforts will be made to work with businesses to understand any barriers to achieving compliance. So I think for me, I'm always very reassured by things that have a bit of a grace period, because change is difficult. Change for some of our businesses that have been operating the same way forever is even more difficult. Changes for customers are difficult. So I think that 6-month window will really give us a view as to how much of this is achievable and what can be done as a kind of middle ground. So I am supportive, but also reassured that there is some flexibility in this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nair. Any other councillors want to say something? Councillor Holtby, you have a right of reply.
Thanks. I can understand Councillor Gardner's concern, and correcting there are many footpaths that won't take the new policy. But as Councillor Nair has said, the council officers are going to be flexible in their presentation of outcomes, and it will work. But I think this statement here says it all. Council officers have already started talking to business about these changes, what these changes may mean for them, to better understand potential barriers to compliance. And most business consultants have been understanding and supportive of the proposed changes as they see the benefit of being more inclusive.
Thank you, Councillor Holtby. So we have a motion in place that council adopt the outdoor training policy, and 2, adopt the establishment of an annual parking fee of $535 for one car space and $375 for each additional car. Those in favour of that motion, please raise your hand. All those against? Motion carried.
And a division for
Certainly, Councillor Gardner. All those in favour of the motion, please. That's Councillor Cordy, Councillor Nair, Councillor Maltby, Councillor McClure, Councillor Henderson, and Councillor Mayor Driscoll. And all those against, it's Councillor Gardner. Thank you. Next item is 12.3.4, which is the appointment of a new Audit and Risk Committee independent member. And councillor Neer, could I get you to introduce this, please?
Thank you, Mayor. This report follows the resignation of Ms. Linda Scott, formerly McNeil, who was a long-standing member of the Audit and Risk Committee. I will move a recommendation that council, upon recommendation of the Audit and Risk Committee interview panel, appoints Ms. Pip Murphy to the Audit and Risk Committee for the period 22 November 2023, 21 November 2026.
Thank you, councillor Neer. Do I have a seconder? Or do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Cordy? Thank you. Councillor Neer, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
I would, thank you, Mayor. We obviously are required to have an Audit and Risk Committee that is council's third line of defence. As Mayor this year, I've been sitting on that committee alongside Mayor Driscoll. They do, they have incredible expertise and knowledge around audit processes and around risk management, far beyond my own, but I've learned so much from them. Linda was particularly, I felt like Linda was such an asset, both in, her just personality, but the fact that when she spoke about things, she used very plain language that I could understand, and I'm always really appreciative of that. Linda has obviously stepped down from the committee, and we needed another member. So we put out an expression of interest and publicly invited applicants for the spot on our Audit and Risk Committee as an independent member. We received 12 applications, and we formed an interview panel, which was myself, Mayor Driscoll, Audit and Risk Committee Chair Nicole Cox, and Manager of Governance and Risk Leanne Brown. So we looked through all of the resumes and cover letters and answers to selection criteria that we received. We all made a short list. We kind of tabulated that short list, getting our altogether short list. And then we interviewed our 3 preferred candidates. From that process, they were all fantastic candidates, and we were, there was a real lot of expertise in all of those people. But at the end of all that, we, with a consensus, decided that unanimously agreed that Ms. Pip Murphy was our preferred candidate. I think she's going to be a real asset to our Audit and Risk Committee. I think she has a bunch of really great experience. She has new ties in the community and is intending to spend more and more time here, which I think is a real bonus to understanding our community. And I think she also just has a really great, I use the word vibe a bit in the interviews, but I think which I wouldn't usually, but she does. She's got a really good vibe, and I think she's going to bring some really great stuff to our Audit and Risk Committee. So I recommend her to my fellow councillors.
Thank you, councillor Neer. Councillor Cordy, would you like to speak to the motion or reserve the right to speak?
Happy to speak. I think Councillor Neer has covered very well. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Cordy. Any other councillors like to say something? Okay, so the recommendation on us is the council recommendation the Audit and Risk Committee interview panel appoints Ms. Pip Murphy to the Audit and Risk Committee for the period 22nd November 23 to 21st 2026. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Motion carried. Thank you. I'd just like to first thank Linda. She was an excellent Audit and Risk person. A huge loss in my opinion, because she contributed very strongly. So thank you. And I want to thank her for a long service. But I do think the new member, as Councillor Neer says, will be good too. She's very switched on, and I'm looking forward to being on the committee with her. Thank you. Next item is delegates report. So the first delegates report, that's okay, when I lead off with the CEO. I'll get it, former mayor actually. Go first. Thanks, Rosie.
Sure, if someone else would like to go first while I gather myself.
Yeah, okay, so Carol.
Sorry.
Carol. Yeah,
That's okay. Thanks very much, Mayor, and I say congratulations to yourself, Mayor Driscoll, and also Deputy Mayor Amir on your appointments tonight. On behalf of the staff, it is a complete commit to supporting both of you in those new roles over the next 12 months. Can I also just add my appreciation and respect and thanks to former Mayor Amir for her work. It has been both a joy and inspiration to work with you over the last 12 months. Former Mayor Amir. About we all contribute our rates. We all contribute our rates, and that provides a number of services, more than 100 to everyone in the community. We don't all use them all, but people in our community do need them, and that's what we're all contributing towards. So I thought it was a fantastic day. I think the staff had a great time for the most part as well, and I've got a feeling we might do that one again with some frequency in the future. The other one I wanted to mention was I was actually in my role as the Rural Council Victoria CEO representative for this one, where we met with the Honourable Harriet Shing, who's the Minister for Housing. We were talking about affordable housing. As you know, there's a number of new announcements related to funding on housing that have come out recently. There's more social and affordable housing, which Minister Shing herself will oversee. Another, not absolutely sure on the number, but another at least $1 billion towards that on top of what's already happened, as well as $150 million in key worker accommodation. And there's another fund as well, but those two have got significant potential for us. The social and affordable housing component particularly has a bit of an interest in education land and cram land. I think we all know a great site where that could be developed in our shire. So we're working hard on that idea still, as well as a number of key worker sites that could be developed in the shire. So that was great to hear that news, and we'll be working pretty hard to get some strong submissions into that process over the coming months. The other one I wanted to mention was another one, apologies, former mayor, I think, picking all the ones that we were both at. I'm sure you'll add your version to them. The Municipal Association Victoria's Rural and Regional Forum was on last week. And that was a really important thing for us as a rural council. We had the opportunity to influence the Municipal Association of Victoria's position paper, which is being prepared in response to the state government's new housing plan, as well as what they're considering doing with the planning scheme, following some of the different things that have been going on at a state and local government level related to planning matters. So I think that there's a lot in that, but what felt really good to me, former mayor, was the understanding, and a point that we pushed very hard, as well as Rural Council Victoria, is that when you think about non-metro areas, rural Victoria is not the same as regional Victoria. Regional cities have different aspects to them to what rural Victoria has. You have to, at a policy and a strategy level, and then an investment level, think about them differently and treat them differently. And I think that message was really well appreciated by the MAB, and there were board members there who are not far from here who certainly appreciated that point. So I thought that was time well spent as well. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, CEO. Councillor Bonnier.
Yeah, thank you for that. It felt like very big last month, especially I reckon the last 2 weeks. I switched so much in. I'm incredibly tired, but so much great stuff this month as well. Obviously, I also had a great time at our open day, with the exception of one interaction, but I still, you get something from every situation, I think, and it was all valuable information at the end. I think what was really lovely as well was to see so many staff members who really don't get to see each other very often because they work, you know, in completely different places, kind of cruising around to different booths. And, you know, we've got so much going on that I think for, you know, just any person, it can be quite hard to stay on top of everything, and to see what everyone else is doing and all the great work that's being done. So I think it was very valuable for everyone, really. And I certainly got some great feedback from that day. Yeah, I'm going to the last one in a couple of weeks. So one committee that I've recently started sitting on, I've only been to 2 meetings so far, is the MAB Human Services Committee. And I put my hand up for this a little while ago after they sent out an email kind of asking for interested people. I'm pretty interested in that side of council things. So I've been going along to those meetings with a bunch of mayors and councillors and staff from all over Victoria, kind of advising MAB on strategic things that we are really fitting at our end. The last meeting I went to was a really interesting one. A lot of people were there from Department of Health talking about the 4th health and wellbeing plan that will be kind of being developed for 2023 to 2027, that has been developed, and the outcomes that we're already seeing from that. A lot of the priorities, you know, the things that aren't going so well, there's still a massive amount of chronic illnesses and burden of disease, with 1/3 of hospital admissions across the state due to preventable chronic illnesses. And this rate, of course, is a lot higher for people from low socioeconomic areas and rural and regional areas. We also talked a lot about the vaping epidemic, although the language around that is changing rapidly. Vaping means something very particular, and we were advised to really use the language of e-cigarettes rather than talking about vaping. But that is, you know, a real problem, and particularly for younger kids. I know I was speaking to a community member who does a lot of work in this area, and they've been called into a school for a grade 3-year-old who got a vape to school this week for an e-cigarette. So that is relatively concerning, and something that I think will continue to be concerning for a while. The other big topics on the agenda were, you know, the increased violence against women and children that is still affecting a lot of people, and the rates of things like alcohol use that's really going up, as well as high blood pressure and people not eating healthy or kind of living healthily. So lots and lots of things to cover there. It's actually a really great group to be a part of because we got a lot done. We get a lot done in the time that we spend together. The one that I was really excited about, and I think probably because, you know, I'm a woman, you kind of, where am I at? I'm in my early, I don't know, I'm an adult. I'm not sure where I sit on the lifespan anymore. I've got 2 girls as well. We were talking a lot about a new program that was a commitment by the former Premier, and it's around providing women in all communities with free sanitary items. So most women know this, and I'm sure many of you do too, but the amount of money that women spend on feminine hygiene products for the entirety of their life when they need them is a huge amount. They are taxed really unfairly, and lots of people live with something called period poverty, which is an inability to access the products that they need. This will make a massive big deal for a lot of people. The fact that soon, hopefully, women will be able to access a certain amount of free products per month everywhere. So in every LGA, there will be an amount of these machines. They're not really sure how the machines are going to work yet, but they will be tamper-proof. They have assured me. I don't know what that means either. I think you can probably tamper with anything, but it's really exciting. We'll end up with 4 within our shire, which will provide, you know, this is actually such a big deal. And I was really excited to talk about that. So that was a really great meeting to attend. The CEO and I also met with Gail Broad MP for another really great chat. She was and is incredibly generous with her time. And she is a really good listener, I found. She is so curious about so much of the stuff that we talk to her about. You know, she's relatively new in the role. Obviously, she represents Northern Victoria, so quite a wide Northwestern Victoria. Can't quite remember. Big area anyway, multiple LGAs. And so she's really trying to get up to speed on all these things that affect us. So we were able to have a really fantastic conversations with her as well. One weekend, it would have been not last weekend, but the one before, I went to the RSL Remembrance Day service. It was, you know, really, really beautiful. They do such a great job with the singing, with the piper, with the speeches. I think the generation that I'm at, I feel, you know, apart from right now, obviously, where there's lots of stuff going on, I feel very removed from war in many ways. And whenever I've attended one of these events, I get so much from it because of the passion of the people who speak about, you know, their family members and relatives serving in the war and what it meant to them. So it's really good for me. And it's just such a, yeah, it's a real honour to attend. The next day, I got to go to another great event in the Botanical Gardens, which was an event put on by the Solomon Islander community to come over on the Palm program to work at Don KR. So we've got about 177 people from the Solomon Islands living in our community now. You probably see them around. They're out and about. They're always playing soccer and you know, just they're a really friendly bunch of people. They wanted to put on an event to say thank you to our community for the welcome and the kindness that they have been shown with things like, you know, initially when they were here, they had such bad timing because they arrived and they were living in the caravan park over there, and almost immediately we had the floods. And, you know, it's relatively close to the creek and everything. So they had a pretty poor start in our community, being pretty soggy. With the amount of donations of jackets and blankets and everything they need, you know, the amount of things like guitars that people have passed them on and soccer balls, things to give them a bit of pleasure in their lives as well, because they kind of came here with not very much. So they really wanted to say thank you to our community. They gifted us a beautiful painting, which I showed you all at briefing, and we'll put somewhere. Their request for that painting was that we put it somewhere where the community could enjoy it. So we're going to find a place where it'll be accessible to people. But it was such a joyful day to be part of. There was so much dancing. Each province of the Solomon Islands, and there's 9 of them, has particular customs and particular dances, and each a person from each province got up and spoke about their culture, and it was just beautiful. So that was just such an honour to be a part of. Obviously, last week we had the Mount Alexander Business Awards, which was really nice. It was a really great opportunity. I think lots of people got really dressed up. There was a bit of fancy fashion going on. I had more makeup, which is, you know, not something I do very often, but it was nice to feel a bit fancy, and people were just happy to be there. I talked to so many business owners about the support they've been given by council, whether it was establishing a business or needing some help with an existing business. Lots and lots of great stuff going on out in Malvern. Really keen to get out there and see some of those new businesses. Yeah, it was just so lovely. And to get to kind of be there amongst it all was really special, and also hit the dance floor with a couple of fellow councillors at the end. Really capped off. I saw you, Bill. I saw you dancing up the back. It really capped off a beautiful evening. Obviously, congratulations to all the award winners. But I learned about so many incredible new businesses. Probably the last one I'll pick up on, the CEO and I also attended the Loddon-Campaspe Shire Council's Mayors and CEOs meeting last week up in Bendigo. And it was nice, you know, a lot of people, there's a lot of mayor changeover at the moment. So obviously every shire is having their elections, but I think mayors had remained static in some places and not other places. It's always really valuable to get together like that as a group to, I don't know, if you feel a bit of camaraderie almost. I think this job can feel very lonely and rough sometimes, and it's great to get together and kind of go, oh, we're all in the same boat. We can do this. We're doing good things. We also had the pleasure of Minister Demopoulos attending online and listening to some of our concerns, and had some other great chats as well. But it was a really nice way to wind up the mayor of the year. So thank you. That's my delegates report.
Thank you, Councillor New. Any other councillors on the delegates report?
I should just report that the Taradale Roar was reinstated after 4 years interrupt from the major COVID star event. We had a fabulous flavour in Briscoe Honey, so I think all the officials cut the way school ball, their locals, and to Taradale. And it went off. It was fantastic. The theme was go. Everyone dressed up. We won the proper poem, and
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Sorry, any others? Just a couple of quick ones for me. So first of all, the Business Awards was a great night and congratulations to those winners. And the open day that we had, I thought was really excellent too. So I hope that will continue. I did a podcast on the Candid Tiny Homes a couple of weeks ago, which was good. And I did an interview for the aged care, decision on aged care for Win TV. And Councillor Corley, I went to the tractor pull in Muckleford for the Mount Alexander Vintage Engine Club, which was excellent. And I met with the YIMBY, as Councillor Henderson mentioned, the Yes in My Backyard, which was excellent. I think it's a fantastic group of people trying to do some good stuff, and hopefully we can potentially support them moving forward. I had a listening post in Newstead, and we spoke about the potential lease of Newstead land there for the affordable housing. So there's a difference of opinion there, but we're getting through that. So that's all I have. We have no notices of motion, no urgent special business. And we do have an item, confidential item. So can I have a recommendation, please?
And we move the council close the ordinary meeting of council on August 2023. November. 21st of November, sorry.
Yeah. It's okay. Do I have a second?
With section.
Yes. Councillor Neer?
Yep.
Second. Okay, all those in favour? Okay, thank you everyone for your time. I'll now close the meeting and go into the confidential meeting. Thank you.